And we're airborne. Welcome to a brand new Monday morning on the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. I do this together with Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah. Wherever you are, thank you for connecting. Now let's get into what you can expect on the show this morning. After the news with Pakwesi Shandov, yes, he's back. We'll be getting into our news review with the Executive Director, Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleiman Abrahima. You know he takes no prisoners. Stay with us for that. But then we get into our major stories. We call them the big stories. And the first on the block, the cedi's depreciation. The cost of goods and services is skyrocketing. Investors are worried about the economic impact. Despite assurances from government, they are not convinced. We'll be hearing from the Car Dealers Association, the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association as well, on how the cedi's free fall is affecting their businesses. We'll also discuss an ongoing controversy over the conflict of interest issue as Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta and Charles Edouard-Hene are alleged to have benefited from bonds. But the question is, what is the position of the law? Have they erred in any way? We'd also rope in the conversation on whether Executive Director of the Economic and Organized Crimes Office, that is EOCO, Mameyatiwa Dankwa, is attempting to botch the trial of former Chief Executive of defunct Menzgold, Nanapia Mensah, popularly known as NAM1. You've heard her speak to the issues, but what is she up to? We'll be breaking it down for you. Also, we'll bring you the latest on that situation in the Manya-Krobo and its environs. The lights were restored on Friday, then they were taken away owing to some technical faults, and then it came back. We'll bring you more on that later on the show. And at the tail end, we have a conversation with Emeritus Professor Samuel Ofusu-Amma, a distinguished pediatrician, public health expert at the School of Public Health, University of Ghana. He's a fellow and former vice president of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. We'll be having an interaction with him later on the show. As always, share with us your thoughts. The hashtag is AMShow. And do give us a buzz when we activate the phone lines. And don't you forget, let me just sneak in this bit. This is the week when we bring you our main fair, the 13th edition of the EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair. We'll be bringing you some details of that. It's going to be between Wednesday and Sunday. Up next, though, the news with Pakwesi Shandov.
It's the commencement of a new week. Welcome to the AM show. Welcome. This is the AM News. My name is Pakwesi Shandov. So, very first story, President Akufo-Addo is asking security forces in the country to cooperate with the civilians to help ward off terrorists. Speaking in a meeting with regional service commanders in the Upper West region as part of his 3-day tour, he said Ghana would not allow any terrorist implantation in the country. Correspondent Rafik Salam has more in the following report.
Though the arrival time for President Akufo-Addo to the Upper West region was shifted 4 hours back, it didn't deter or prevent faithful of the new Patriotic Party, MPP, from giving him a rousing welcome. Regional and constituency executives and supporters of the MPP by 12 midday had crowded in front of the arrival hall of the Wa Airport, hoping to have a glimpse of the president. They have lots of expectation from this visit of the president.
There are a lot of activities that are going on. There are a lot of development projects that are already on hand, and we think that the president should come and see what he has put in here for us so that we can even encourage him to do more for the party in the region.
There are a lot of ongoing projects where there's ground for him to commission, he commissions. The Agenda 111 projects are things that he wants to be completed before he leaves office, and therefore it's important for him to go around and say, even meeting the people and dealing with them is a very essential part of governance, because he wants to be near the people and listen to them. Although you hear of the dire, picture painted everywhere, this is not the attitude of the people who have given up on the government, who are giving up on the president. They will not be here. And those are the things that he wants to come and feel on the ground and let the people know that he's concerned about happenings and he's going to lead us out of those happenings with our support, inshallah.
The president has done a lot in this region, from giving employment, infrastructure, and so on and so forth. We are here to make sure that the president comes here, feel at home. This is going to be his next home. He will live here knowing that the people of Upper West are really in love with him and they are welcoming him.
Between now and December, a lot of changes will come. So this is what I expect the president to tell the people. He should give us hope. Let us understand. Even the dollar, and that's the biggest challenge. But I trust that it's just a matter of time. We'll stabilize the system. So all I want him to tell us to continue to give us hope whilst we work underground to ensure that we fix the economy.
He finally touched down some few minutes after 1 p.m. and quickly rolled out of the airport and straight to the new residency, which houses the presidential lodge. President Akufo-Addo later went out of the itinerary and headed to the number 10 mechanized agri barracks, where he met regional service commanders and top-rank officers of the security services in the region.
We are going to prevent any implantation of terrorist activity. You cannot do it by yourself. You need the cooperation of the civilian population. So that has to be a very important part of your thinking and planning. At all stages, how you can foster good relations with your civilian counterparts so that you can work together to protect all of us.
Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo spoke of efforts made to keep the security services in fighting terrorists and their elements from entering the country.
Support you in terms of manpower, support you in terms of appropriate policy. You yourselves are aware of the efforts we're making to deploy in this part of the region these forward operating bases. I think there are 3 in this region: Chilapa, Hamile, and Chumu. A strong case has already been made by some of their commanders to have that expanded to include at least Golu, Buchau as well.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam. Wow.
Now, the family of the late Lana Mahamadou Abdullahi III, who represents the Abu-Baidoo family in Dagbon's kinship, has pledged its commitment to ensure the peace Dagbon is currently enjoying is maintained. The family says it would not condone any acts that would derail the peace process. A representative of the family, Mahakwa Na Abukari Yakubu, gave the assurance when President Akufo-Addo graced the Islamic Adwa of the late Lana. Now, let's continue with the bulletin, where the Agbo Gwemefia of the Asogli State, Togbe Afede, the 14th, has reiterated that he returned the ex-gratia paid him as a member of the Council of State because he did not merit such a huge sum of money for serving a poor state as Ghana. He detailed that it would be inappropriate for him to receive 300,000 Ghana cedis ex-gratia from a country suffering economic hardship for a part-time job he did. Togbe Afede was speaking at the maiden edition of the Asogli Anti-Corruption Day celebration in Ho.
I returned the ex-gratia amount I was given, not because I didn't need the money. In fact, at that particular time, I needed money very badly to meet various family obligations. But I truly believe that that money was not deserved. It was inappropriate for what I would emphasize again was essentially a part-time work. For the avoidance of doubt, let me emphasize that I was one of the most active participants at the Council of State. And secondly, I registered as a resident of Accra and never had any transport allowance. The records, I promise my people, will be set straight very soon. As to whether I'll do it again, yes, I'll do it again. Because, again, our country is a very poor country. So those who sacrifice or who have offered voluntarily to work for this country must be very considerate in terms of the demands that we make on our people. Yes, the Constitution allows certain payments to Article 71 office holders, But of course, the constitution was not very definitive as to the quantum of those payments. And that is why a committee will normally be set up to look at what must be paid. And I think the committee, when set up in future, should do a better job in looking at exactly what should legitimately be paid, particularly within the context of our economic situation. You know, end of service benefits should not be earned multiple times. And of course, the quantities should respect the demands on the time of the people to which these monies are going to be paid to. And as I said, under those same circumstances, I will return any money that I'm paid as ex-gratia.
Now, members of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament say the trend where some lecturers who are on government scholarships fail to return to Ghana after their studies is worrying. According to Chairman of the committee, James Kluche-Aveji, the situation requires the rollout of stringent measures to ensure that such individuals who escape for greener pastures do not go scot-free. He was speaking at the committee's meeting in Sunyani. Correspondent Precious Semevo has more in the following report.
The 5-day Public Accounts Committee sittings in Sunyani have heads of some educational institutions and assemblies in the Bono East, Ahafo and Ashanti regions answering queries on irregularities in the Auditor General's report for 2019. Institutions such as Kumasi and Sunyani Technical Universities, Agogo Training College, Brekum Training College, St. Joseph College of Education and Atebubu Training College have been indicted on infractions on assets declarations, cash management, procurement, payroll, contract and tax-related breaches. The report captured 3 lecturers of the Sunyani Technical University, Dr. Eric Nsianjaba, Foster Dade and Kusi Ankra, of failure to redeem a bond of over 431,000 cedis after a government of Ghana sponsorship for further studies in the USA, Cyprus and China. The beneficiaries have since failed to return, hence depriving the university of the benefit of skills acquired, though the university explained that Kusi Ankra has returned and is still serving. The PAC chairman, James Kluche-Aveji, expressed worry about the trend in Ghana and said the guarantor system, as adopted by Kumasi Technical University and the University of Cape Coast, would be the solution.
In the case of the University of Cape Coast, before the government sponsor you, you need to provide bank guarantee that you come back. When you come back, there's no demand on the bank to pay any money to the institution that sponsored you. But if you don't come back, then the bank will have to refund whatever money they spend on you to the institution. The bank will also have to ensure that if you don't come back, they have something to lay their hand on. So that is the only way we'll be able to resolve that issue. If not, people go, after receiving the training or whatever, they decide to stay back.
Other committee members also shared their opinions.
This clearly amounts to a betrayal on behalf of colleagues who go and remain. We ought to look at the guarantor system and make it much more robust so that we tie them to guarantors who have the wherewithal to step in and to pay for their infractions. If that were to happen, those guarantors, being that they have the wherewithal, would be able to track them down in any part of the world that they go to seek refuge.
And again, we must also make such conduct very punitive. We should be able to prosecute people because that's fraud. You undertake that you want to go and study, upgrade yourself, and come back to contribute your quota to the growth, further growth of the nation. And then you take the money, you go and derive the benefit, and then you abandon the country. I think that's fraud.
Meanwhile, Tamale Central MP Ibrahim Mutala Muhammad disclosed that the committee would invite the Minister of Justice and Attorney General on the state of individuals and institutions referred for prosecutions.
So at any point in time, we should have just 1 year report that we are looking at. We don't want to have reports that are lying there for several years unattended to. Those who are a bit, pessimistic about Public Accounts Committee, I just want to assure them that things are changing, and more so when we have started referring people to the Minister for Justice and Attorney General for prosecution. And we will demand from the ministry the extent to which those prosecutions, have been done next year.
Precious Semevo, JoyNews, Sunyani.
Let's take you to an earlier story where the family of the late Nyon Lana Mahamudu Abdullahi III, who represents the Abu-Baidoo family in the Dagbon kinship, has pledged its commitment to ensure the peace Dagbon is currently enjoying is maintained. More in this report by correspondent Martina Bugri.
Vice President Dr. Mahmoudou Bawumia, the Chief of Staff, Madam Fremont Parry, National Security Advisor Albert Kandapa, among other dignitaries, graced the Islamic Adwa of the Chief of Miang. Giving the vote of thanks, Mahakpena Abukari Yakubu said the late Miang Lana was able to initiate development project in his jurisdiction because of the peace the president and his government had worked tirelessly to restore, assuring that they would continue to maintain the peace.
It took your personal commitment and intervention for us to have this peace that we are enjoying here. And that is why Lana Abdullahi was able in his own way to initiate those projects and then programs. We are hoping, and I have the assurance of the entire Abdu family that we will continue to play our part. We will continue to play our role to help you usher this peace process to its logical conclusion. We will do nothing. We will do nothing at all to delay this peace process.
The Northern Regional Minister, Alhaji Shani Alhassan Shaibu, who spoke on behalf of the president, said it was the president's desire that the people of Dagbon see the death of the late Miang Lana as a starting point of all reconciliations that are yet unsettled in the Dagbon kingdom.
Your Excellency, you said you hope that the demise of the Miang Lana should be the starting point of all reconciliations that are yet unsettled in Dagbon. And you hope that there will be a very peaceful transition to the death of the Miang Lana.
Reading a tribute to the late chief, the Miang Lana secretary, Al-Hassan Idrisu, described the late Miang Lana as a peacemaker who played a critical role in the Dagbon peace process.
He certainly came to help Dagbon resolve her age-old conflict. It must be put on record that on the night of 25th January 2019, when a new overlord was about to be ushered in to close the pages of the decades-old conflict, he was the one who had the final word. It took his call for calm and restraint on the airwaves to avert the eruption of violence that could be smelled everywhere. What an amazing mission that life was. On 3rd March 2019, the Miang Lana was elevated to the Miang's king. He also made a member of the Dagbon Traditional Council. He was also a board member of the Northern Electricity Company, that is NEDCO. His leadership of the Miang traditional area was vibrant and prosperous, and would leave fond memories amongst the subjects for years.
Now, the much anticipated EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair is scheduled to start on Wednesday, August 24. Already, our exhibitors are giving you countless reasons not to miss out on Ghana's biggest housing fair. One of them, Lakeside Estate, is promising a 5% discount on its new Ashalibotri Community 9, soon to be completed Lakeside Hills houses. The new estate has a community playground, pharmacy, supermarket, salon, and more. Maxwell Ababa has more in this report.
International Conference Center from the 24th will be transformed into a one-stop shop for everything housing. Leading experts in the housing industry would assemble at the Accra International Conference Center to provide you with the solutions that you need. Right about now, we are at the premises of the 2019 CIMG Real Estate Company of the Year. We're talking about Lakeside Estate. And we have with us here Isaac Ntiamwa. He's the marketing manager. He's going to tell us more about Lakeside Estates and what they have on offer.
This is our current community number 8, which we have currently sold out, and we are going to introduce community number 9, which is going to be the lifestyle community, which my colleague will be taking you to afterwards.
Okay.
The community 8 has various homes. We have the facilities like the fitness center, we have the pharmacy, we have the supermarket, we have the children playground, and going into the community 9 is going to even be bigger.
Okay.
Which we're going to tell you afterwards.
Okay. So what it means is that on a weekend on Friday, when I drive home and I enter this gate, I can stay here till thy kingdom comes.
Yeah.
What makes you stand?
Lakeside Estate has been one of the companies in Ghana where we don't compromise on our space.
Okay.
We are competitive in the market, and we have the competitive advantage due to the space.
Okay.
If you look at even our 2-bedroom standard house, it's one of the products that have a lot of space around it.
Okay.
Going forward to the dealers, they have even a bigger space.
Okay.
So compromising on space is something that we don't look at.
We'll be going to Community 9 to check out the new community that's springing up. For right now, we're in front of Community 8, we're going to Community 9. Let's go. Yeah. We've been to Community 8, that's what you saw earlier, Community 8 of Lakeside Estate. Now we are at Community 9, which is a new development, new community which is springing up. You can see construction is actually underway. A lot of the people here are busy working, but I've been inspecting some of the rooms. Very spacious, and I'm told that this place is going to be even more secure. There's going to be a bigger playing field. I'm told pharmacy, shopping mall, and all that you can think of, will be here in this new community here, Lakeside Hills, Community 9. You've already seen Community 8. This is Community 9, and we're here to talk to Daniel Deku. Yes.
So what we are doing is that Lakeside Estate is giving 5% discount to anybody who purchases a home from us at the fair.
Wow.
Yes, so from the 24th to 28th at the Habitat Fair at the conference center. Yes, anybody who purchases a home from Lakeside Estate is getting 5% discount flat.
Wow.
Yes. So you come to our stands, you select or you give an interest. You show an interest in any of the house types that you want. Once you come on site, you select a house and then you're making payment, we give you 5% discount. 5% discount.
Wow.
On any house type.
On any house
All the house types, you are getting 5% discount.
Okay.
This is our latest development. This is where all the houses are coming up.
Okay.
So all the types, the 2 bedrooms, the 3 bedrooms, the 4 bedrooms, everything is up here at Lakeside Hills.
Okay.
So we have all the infrastructure. We have the community park, we have the supermarkets, the kids playground, the lawn tennis, the restaurants, everything you need as a community is here. So yeah.
Wow. So how many houses, do you know the number of houses that are here?
Oh, currently we have close to 40 houses here.
Okay.
And then, this is a very big community.
Yeah.
In Community 8.
Thank you for staying with us. You know how Monday mornings are. We're starting the week and we're having our news review. We're joined by Suleiman Abraham, Executive Director of Media Foundation for West Africa. He joins us to review the papers that we have here this morning. I have the Daily Graphic, Ghanaian Times, Daily Guide, the Finder newspaper, the Ghanaian Publisher, among others. We'll sift through. Some of the issues are repeated, and so we may have to gloss over certain newspapers. Not intentional, but we'll make the most of the situation. Suleimana, a very good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us. You'd have to unmute, Suleimana.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, loud and clear.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning. How was your weekend?
Well, quite well. Enduring the economic crash, but we are on.
We're on. Anyway, so time now for us to dig into the papers and quite a number of issues to discuss. Before we get into the papers, the usual, I'll run a few thoughts by you. There is that Deputy Director General at the Ghana Education Service, I'm sure you recall, whose contract has been renewed for a second time. I'll just get you the details of that together with his name. And some people are wondering whether there are only a select few who can remain at post ad infinitum, basically forever. There's been a lot of talk about that in respect of whether these are the only people who know how to do the work. There's also this matter, I don't know whether you've seen it yet. An assemblyman demolishes a bridge linking two communities simply because the person who did it, well, did not seek the right permissions. Now, they were using wooden planks at a point. This person invests his own money, time, resources to build a concrete one. Of course, we cannot overlook the fact that the right measures must be followed, but is the move to break it all down? These are some thoughts I'd like to run by you right before we get into the review proper. Any thoughts you have on them? I'm looking for that letter from the Ministry of Education, which was confirmed. Yes, there it is. So the Office of the President confirms the extension of service as Deputy Director General Management Services of the Ghana Education Service by Dr. Yao Osei-Edu-Chum, who is the Minister of Education, and it has to do with that Deputy Director General. But what is your take? So his name is Mr. Anthony Boateng. It's generated a lot of conversation on social media. People saying the old guard, and again, we're not subscribing to ageism here, but the old guard is not moving for new people to come in. What is your take on that?
Well, I think people who are complaining are right, because in the public or civil service, there are individuals who certainly would be qualified to assume the role that the person in question is occupying. And sometimes you don't also want to create a situation that undermines the morale of those who feel qualified to be appointed. It also then introduces the whole thing about partisanship and politics into the civil service, because people would feel, well, because this person is well connected to the political system, that is why they are here forever. I don't think it's a good practice, and the earlier we moved away from it, the better. Indeed, if some people have certain special skills for which an institution thinks, well, we still need it, the people can exit and can be engaged either on the basis of consultancy, and as and when the services are needed, the person can be contracted. But to go on retirement and remain at post certainly undermines morale, work culture in institutions. And it is not the only place that we are seeing this.
But these are extensions. These are exactly what you're talking about, extensions. So it's been extended for a year for this person, and it's been extended by another year upon the request of Education Minister Yao Osei-Edu-Chum.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is that whatever special skills that this individual possesses,
right,
the person can be engaged whilst on retirement once in a while to come offer this service. Oh, we want to prepare this document, and we think this person has the skills to prepare this document. We contract him for a 2 months or a 1 month service contract. That's a service contract as a consultant. Then you are paid, and then that's it, until perhaps something else comes up and your services are needed. But not that you remain at post. You continue to give instructions to persons who are qualified to have occupied your position, but because you have, literally refused, or you've been given that benefit and privilege of continuing to be in service whilst when you have retired, it certainly undermines work ethic. It undermines, institutional performance and all of that. The only person who benefits, or what the beneficiary remains, the one who has gotten that extension of contract to remain at post. So yes, some individuals may sometimes have special skills that are needed, but those people can be engaged on consultancy basis, on fee-paying basis, and all of that, but not as somebody who is in full-time service.
And about that assemblyman who takes, so to speak, the law into his own hands and says, why construct a bridge when we would have done something else, something that hadn't been done? There were only planks, which meant that the people were not very safe crossing that. Of course, we do not know whether this person who took it upon himself to do so went through the right processes. But what would demolition be the first step you would take in such an instance?
I wouldn't think so. Once it was done and it was serving the community, even if the assemblyman thought that, look, this ought to have been consulted before it was done, I don't think that the person just got up overnight and the problem was there just in a day and he or she decided to fix it. I suppose it is a problem that the people were facing for quite a while. And so even if the assembly member feels that he or she was not consulted, the right approach wouldn't be to say, I am demolishing it. But I got a sense, unless I'm wrong, that after the demolition, a concrete one has been constructed by the assemblyman. Is that right?
Well, I think it's rather the concrete one that was put up by this generous person that was, broken down. And now what you see is it's been broken down. It's back to what it was before. In fact, now, if the information I have is the latest, there's nothing connecting the two, and that is the problem, because initially there was the wooden structure, and this person comes to put the concrete structure, and it's broken down. So that's it. So the concrete structure is rather what the citizen put up.
That's absolutely crazy. I think in that context, the person is not an assemblyman; he's actually a problem man for the community. And the earlier such a person is done away with as a representative of the people to whatever district assembly, the better for the people. I don't know what the motivations might be. Sometimes in the rural areas, the person who may have done this may be seen as an NDC man and the assembly member may be an MPP person. So the assembly member feels, oh, he did this so that just to spite me and my party and the government.
Or maybe the assembly person, we're just conjecturing. Or maybe the person thinks, oh, this is someone who might have an interest in taking over from me at some point in time. And why allow him to get all the plaudits, all the applause?
No, certainly. That's also a possibility. But
right.
That's the problem that we are in our country today, where values and morals don't count. What counts now is political connection and partisanship and so on and so forth. But I think that it has to be investigated so that it doesn't kill the spirit of people who want to do things for their community voluntarily without any partisan interest or political interest and so on and so forth. So it's a matter that we should all take interest in and really not leave it to the community to sort it out or leave it out to local media to be reporting it. I would take a keen interest in that and offer any support for a bigger mainstream media that would be interested in investigating the matter.
All right. And even as we say all of this, let's also take note. You cannot just get up as a citizen and do anything. So you must seek the requisite permissions. That is also the other side of the conversation. But the Daily Graphic this morning, power back in Kroboland, economic activities picking up. And after being without electricity for 3 weeks, Kroboland in the eastern region now has power. This follows the implementation of a roadmap agreed upon by a committee made up of the Ministry of National Security, the political and traditional leaders of Kroboland, as well as the power supplier, the ECG. The committee was set up by the Ministry of Energy to resolve the issues between the ECG and the people of Kroboland that led to the power cut. Of course, there's been a lot of talk about the damage that the people allegedly caused to some of the equipment of the ECG. But now that power has been restored, what would you like to see going forward? In fact, last weekend, when power was initially restored, I think some of the equipment of the ECG was still in a poor state, so the lights went off again and then later had to be restored. But moving forward, what would you say should be the moves that are adopted to maintain some sanity as far as this situation is concerned, Suleimana?
Well, I never really got to understand the whole issue. What I was hearing was that, well, the people in the area are saying that they wouldn't pay bills for electricity that they consume. on the basis of some historical agreement that was signed that entitles them to free electricity, which was, in my view, quite curious and something that certainly couldn't be supported. But I believe that in the midst of things, the engagement perhaps did not also go as it ought to have gone. These are individuals perhaps who are misinterpreting certain things and taking the wrong action. And so it was quite a pity that they had to endure what they went through. But I at some point didn't also see what the ECG could do, but to take the action that was taken. What is important is that now electricity has been restored, which is a great thing. And going forward, it's important that the community members are continuously engaged to sensitize them to appreciate why it's important that they cooperate for the electricity to be on, because the impact on them can be quite devastating in terms of medical hospitals that were struggling, medical facilities that were struggling, schools that were struggling, businesses that were struggling. Suddenly, the impact of that was certainly more devastating than whatever amounts that they were going to be paying for consuming electricity. It's just impossible to say that I want to have electricity without paying. I don't think that it can happen anywhere. And so they need to be engaged for them to understand why it's important that they continue to do their part of the bargain in terms of paying their bills whilst having electricity running.
And I think that is part of the roadmap as well. And we wish them well. Hopefully, some positive resolution will be brought to this matter. But in other stories, GIFEC obtains land for rural telecommunication. 2016 sites will move coverage to 95%. But two major stories I want us to take a quick look at. One on page 61, the other on page 13. Let's start with the story on page 13 of the Daily Graphic newspaper. And it says, "Do not glorify wealth from dubious sources." Togbe Afede says so. And the Agbogbo Mafia of Asogli, Togbe Afede the 14th, has urged Ghanaians to stop glorifying wealth from dubious sources. That, he said, would help significantly in the fight against corruption. Speaking at an anti-corruption forum at the forecourt of the Asogli Palace at Hobankwe as part of activities marking this year's Teza Yam Festival last Saturday, the Agbogbo Mafia said it was important for people to respect those who worked hard in dignity and not just because of a certain lifestyle. But to cap it all off, on the bit about his ex-gratia, which he spurned, he turned away. Quote, he says, "I returned the ex-gratia amount I was given not because I didn't need the money. In fact, at that particular time, I needed money very badly to meet various family obligations. But I truly believe that money was not deserved. Yes, I will reject ex-gratia again if I have to, because our country is a very poor country. So anybody who sacrifices or who has offered to voluntarily work for this country must be very considerate." There's been talk, Sule, about scrapping these ex-gratia packages and all of that. How do you react to the story?
Well, first of all, again, to commend His Eminence, the
Agbogbo Mafia of the Asogli State.
Togbe Afede. There are people who speak about these issues of corruption and act the opposite. In his case, he even acted before what he is saying now. So he is clearly not saying something that he is not doing. And I wish that we had our chiefs behaving the way Togbe is behaving. Because in our country today, part of the problem is the conduct of our chiefs. In fact, because of little things and meager things, sometimes you have chiefs fighting each other or chiefs making statements that are really untoward just because they want to gain favors from one party or the other. So it would have been great if we had our traditional leaders all embracing the conduct and attitude that Togbi has shown. The other point is the very important message he sends for Ghanaians not to glorify people who have made it through dubious means. And in our country today, absolutely a lot of people are making it through dubious means. I have said that currently, given the system we are running, whether it is the MPP or it is the NDC, people seek power just to dupe this country. Because they come to power and all of a sudden, what they have is certainly unthinkable. Think about the ministers of this government today, the people who have gotten appointments in this government today, people that we knew, people that were friends, people that we worked together, and what they have within the last 5 or 6 years. And it is just unthinkable. The NDC out there in the opposition, a lot of them we know also profiteered from being in power. We know people who own multiple houses in East Legon, multiple lands across the city, just because they were in power and not because they did anything extraordinary in terms of work. And those are the people that Togbe is saying we shouldn't glorify. We know people who are occupying leadership positions in their churches, not because they are doing anything righteous, not because they are the most righteous people in the churches, but because they are the ones who are able to donate the most amounts when there are events organized and so on and so forth. The churches don't question, how do these people come by their money? And sometimes they even know that they get these monies through very dubious contracts with the state. And a lot has been revealed by the media in terms of these dubious contracts. And yet, our religious communities continue to honor these persons as elders and as leaders, and in the mosques, they are the persons who are glorified, and so on and so forth. It would take a lot of effort, but if we, as individuals, begin to send these messages as Togbe is doing, maybe a time will come we would begin to get people doing the right things. In fact, when Togbe returned the ex-gratia, we had people like Paul Adomotri shamefully, for whatever reasons and for appeasing their political masters, denigrating Togbe and saying all manner of things. I mean, if you have people like this who have no shame, who have no embarrassment, and will do anything to denigrate those who are doing the right things, then we are in trouble. But of course, I believe with people like Togbe, there are certainly others like him. And we must encourage such people to speak up. We must encourage such people to do the right thing and serve as mentors, people that we can look up to, so that our country can become what we all want it to become.
On page 61 of the Daily Graphic, Education Ministry takes delivery of textbooks tomorrow. And the Ministry of Education will take delivery of 3,742,624 textbooks from the United States Agency for International Development, that is USAID, tomorrow. In all, 11,135 schools under the Ghana Accountability for Learning Outcomes Project, Gallup, will benefit from the distribution, which will include 1,214,347 primary 1 to 3 pupils. In addition, a publisher, Prof. Sakwam, has also distributed 275,000 books for classes 1 to 6, while 629,755 creative arts books for classes 1 to 3, and it goes on and on. The Minister of Education made this known at a press briefing in Accra last Friday and said more textbooks would be coming this week and would be sent to the schools. Finally, on technical and vocational education and training, the minister said $60 million had been secured under the Ghana Jobs and Skills Project as seed money for the Skills Development Fund. But this is the same minister who has also been under fire in recent times over those $2.5 million, $1.2 million, among others. Positive note on the textbooks, right? But how do you feel about the other end, some of the accusations leveled against the Honorable Minister?
Well, yes, positive development, but that is also because of where we have been. We have all been through basic school, through JSS during our time, now JHS, and then senior high school, and all of that. Maybe because those days I was too young to follow what was in the media. But otherwise, when we were in school, we had textbooks for all subjects, to the extent that sometimes students could be given the books to take home to read, whether it is cultural studies, whether it is life skills, whether it is social studies, English, and so on and so forth. But we've gotten to the point where the fact that textbooks are going to be made available is even news. It's good to know that now textbooks are going to come. It's good to know that there's been an issue over textbooks, and so having them is news. We hopefully should get to the point where having something as basic as textbooks wouldn't be something that is a cause for celebration. On the issue of accusations, I really don't have a lot of facts to back whatever is happening. I would just urge that a lot more investigations are done so that we would get to know the details of all these accusations, and if there are merits, we take them on.
Just a quick one, very quick one. I just want your very quick reaction to this, Suleimana. Asamoah wants to play for the Black Stars. It's on the back page of the Daily Graphic. And Mohammed Ahmed Polo says, don't write Asamoah off. But many others have already written him off. They say he can't even run for 10 minutes, according to them. But the point is, what is your take? You love your soccer. What is your take?
Well, it's good to want to continue to sacrifice for your country, to continue to play any role that is possible for your country. So if Jan says, look, I want to come back to play for the Black Stars, I think it's a good thing, but of course he has to justify his inclusion. So for all those who are saying he cannot run for 10 minutes, he cannot do this, he cannot do that, it's not as though we just get up one day and we say we have a match against this particular country at the World Cup, and so Jan, come and play. I believe there will be a lot of training sessions, a lot of practicals and so on. Let's get him on and see if he's able to justify himself. Why not? Why would we say that he wouldn't be able to play? The man thinks that he still has the energy to be able to help this country in terms of whatever skill and talents that God has given him. So I think let's give him the chance to justify his inclusion. And if it turns out that indeed he is the right person to play for Ghana, why not? I believe that if today Stephen Appiah says, I think I can still do better on the field, and so allow me to come back, yes, come and justify yourself. It doesn't matter. The age and all of that certainly wouldn't matter. Let us encourage him to justify his inclusion. For maybe this will be the time that he will shine.
Well, let's take a quick look at the Ghanaian Times newspaper now. National Standardized Test. We know about them recently. I think the Class 4 pupils had a taste of it. All schools to take part in 2023, Education Minister assures, will achieve SDG targets. That's according to President Akufo-Addo. That story on page 17. 3 granted 60,000 Ghana cedi bail for stealing ECG power. You see, this is what we're talking about, stealing power. And delegation from Benin diaspora joins Soweto chiefs to mark Homowo. But on this bit about the National Standardized Test, the rollout has started. Like I said, in recent times, we got wind of the performances, regional performances. And it was shocking because some regions that you would think, like the Volta region, where education is widely said to be the cocoa of the people, they were at the very bottom. The minister, for example, says that in all, about 390,000 pupils from 14,883 public schools participated in the test, and analysis of the results show that the Ahafo, Bono East and Bono regions emerged tops in the maiden test, which was limited to just primary 4 pupils. But moving forward, how do we make this an integral part of ensuring that we have quality right from the basic level moving forward? Is this going to ensure that?
Well, it sounds...
It appears we lost Mr. Brima there. Just briefly, we'll try to reconnect with him and get his answers. Suleimana, I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Sorry about that. I was saying that it sounds a good thing. For me, the challenge is that we seem to be playing too much with the education of our kids in this country. Today it is this policy, the next day it is that policy. Today children will not write BEC, the next time they will write BEC. Today class 4 people will do this, the next time they wouldn't do that. It is this curriculum and the next day it is that curriculum. I think we are playing too much politics and too much gimmicks with the future of our children. And the earlier we settled on doing the right things and avoiding the politics in it, the better for this country. I had so much confidence in the current education minister. In fact, I was among those who tweeted, to congratulate him when he took over and said great things about him, even though I haven't met him before. But it was all on the basis of what we noticed him to be when he was deputy minister. But on assumption of the ministerial position, I don't think my expectation has been met. It's all about, like I said, today is that policy, the next day is that policy. Textbooks are going to be printed locally. The next time you hear it is going to be printed, we hear this about this donation and so on and so forth. We need to be consistent and to be coherent about our policies around education. Otherwise, the future of this country will be doomed.
Linked to that, the Ghanaian publisher says, greedy, selfish enemies want my fall. That's according to Dr. Yao Osei Edichum, Education Minister. On the back page of the Ghanaian Times, I just had to sneak in that bit. Eto tips African teams in Qatar World Cup semis. He's very hopeful that our teams are going to fare very well and some of them will make it into the semi-finals. Of course, he was also interacting over the weekend with my colleague, Gary Al Smith. If you missed that one, you can catch the details. But the Daily Guide newspaper, Allen approval rating high. The two stories I'll highlight. And we can't prosecute NAM1, that's according to the Yoko boss. So on the Allen bit, senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Kobe Mensah, has said the massive turnout at the Health Walk for Trade and Industry Minister, Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen, underscores a high favorability rating among the NPP-leaning voters. There's also the bit about not being able to prosecute NAM1, according to the Yoko boss. Quick thoughts?
Well, on the NAM1 prosecution, I've heard the Ministry of Finance make contradictory statements that no, that is not right. I don't know who is telling the truth at this stage. We need to go a bit into that. On the NPP race, Alan versus Bawumia, is still a very dicey one. Certainly, the system appears to be to support Bawumia. And Alan also has his supporters. We can only look forward to a very decent competition, and whoever emerges victorious, we continue to champion the things that would eventually get whoever becomes the leader of our country to do the right thing, whether it is Bawumia, whether it is Alan or John Mahama or Kwabena Dufo or whoever it will end up being. For me, what is important is the person doing the right things, exhibiting acts of patriotism, exhibiting acts that would, build the future of this country for younger generations to come, and not what we are witnessing now, which certainly, if we're going to go on this path for the next 10 years, I think that Ghana is certainly going to be doomed. So we can look forward to a decent competition, and the rest will remain with we, the citizens, demanding the right things being done, and not just about making money through political connections.
Let's wrap the conversation, Suleimana, with these quick stories. Ghana's wealth exported for a pittance. Over 80% of exports are primary commodities, no value added. Pictured there, some bars of gold, as well as cocoa. That has been a problem that we've spoken about time and again, but it appears we're not doing anything to it. I was talking recently about the fact that we're now the world's #1 yam exporter. But what are we doing? What value are we adding to it? Many people don't even know we are the world's #1 exporter. Somehow we should have touted this so that we'd encourage yam production and all of that. I know of planting for food and jobs, but I don't see most people out there, if it weren't the fact that I were rehashing this, wouldn't even know that currently Ghana is the biggest exporter of yam. But the other story, CD's free fall, sharp inflation rise pushes policy rate to 22%. That's in Economy at Times. Quick reactions, and it's a wrap, Suleiman.
Well, I think that we've been good at talking and saying the nice things, particularly in the context of this government, saying all the nice things and doing little or doing the opposite. President Akufo-Addo in opposition talked about the need to move away from the Goggisberg economy, and then comes to power, and we are doing more of the Goggisberg economy, which has gotten us to where we are. It all comes down to the same points I make all the time in terms of leadership. A leader who is selfless, a leader who would want to see a better Ghana, a leader who is not thinking about today, but thinking about the future, a leader who would want to leave a legacy for which he or she will be remembered for decades to come. That is what we have lacked, and that is why we are where we are. It's really unfortunate, but a lot will also depend on we, the citizens, doing the right things, working hard, and seeking to make wealth through the right way.
Right.
Otherwise, we would remain where we are for a long time to come. And unfortunately, neighboring countries that we used to be better than are fast, perhaps on the move than we are. And very soon, it wouldn't be surprising to see some of these countries doing far better than we are doing, as we are seeing now in terms of the currencies of weaker nations, the Gambia, Sierra Leone, Liberia, and so on and so forth, really not being categorized the way ours has been categorized over the period as perhaps the weakest currency around the world.
Suleimana, thank you for your quick reflections and your thoughts on all these matters this morning. I wish you a beautiful week. I know we'll reconnect next Monday if God gives us life.
Thank you so much, and have a great week as well.
All right. Suleimana Brahima, Executive Director, Media Foundation for West Africa. He joined us for the news review. But up next, we're bringing you all the scoop when it comes to sports.
3 years ago, Anthony Joshua returned to Saudi Arabia in a quest to reclaim a world title he lost to Andy Ruiz. 3 years on, he went back there, and unfortunately, it ended in anger and disappointment as Alexander Usyk beat him to pulp to remain the unified heavyweight champion. For the first time in 18 years, Arsenal has picked maximum points in 3 matches. A new era for Mikel Arteta, who started last season with 3 consecutive defeats. And also, Chelsea dropped maximum points. Manchester City clawed back to earn a point against Newcastle United. We've got this and many more here on the AM show with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. But let's start with local stories, where the ambassador for the FIFA World Cup 2022, Samuel Eto'o, has advised Ghana to approach their World Cup game against Uruguay with the mindset of a revenge. Ghana lost to Uruguay in the 2010 World Cup quarter-final when Asamoah missed a crucial penalty that could have earned Africa a first-ever place in the semi-final of the tournament. Samuel Eto'o, who was on the JoyNews channel, said the only best approach Ghana can give to that game is revenge.
Of course. Revenge. It's normal. More motivation. Okay? Some people have also said that if we think too much about revenge, it will take away our energy. It's not true. It gives you more power. It will give us more power. So Ghanaians, if the Black Stars are watching... Maybe. Yeah? Si tu viens chez moi et tu me parles mal devant mes enfants et ma femme, même si je suis plus faible que toi, je deviendrai plus fort que toi.
So let me give you this scenario. If you come to my home and you speak ill to me in front of my wife and my kids, even if I'm weak, I'll be the strongest person at that moment.
True.
Let's do some boxing now. Alexander Usyk, who has fought 20 times and had 13 knockouts, put together another excellent performance in his blockbuster rematch against Anthony Joshua.
showing off great strength, accuracy, and stamina to score a split decision win to retain his WBA, WBO, IBF, and IBO World Heavyweight titles on Saturday night in Saudi Arabia.
Thank you for staying with us on the AM show. We get into our very first big story, and we're going to be talking about the depreciation of the cedi. Costs of goods and services are skyrocketing. Investors are also worried about the economic impact of this, despite assurances from government. A lot of them not convinced. This morning we'll be hearing from car dealers, the Car Dealers Association, also the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association. You know them as GRATA for short, on how the cedi's plummet is affecting their business. We'll also discuss an ongoing controversy over conflict of interest as Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta and Charles Edubuahin are alleged to have benefited from bonds because their entities are transactional advisors. But what exactly is the position of the law? We'll also rope in a conversation on whether Executive Director of the Economic and Organized Crimes Office, EOCO, that is Mami Yatiwa Dankwa, is attempting to botch the trial of Chief Executive Officer of defunct Menzgold, Nanapia Mensah, popularly known as NAM1. So we're talking money, whether it's the exchange rate, whether it's about Menzgold or whatever else, whether it's about the transactional advisors and 0.5%. Joining us for this discussion, we have our guest, Professor Lord Mensah, lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. We also have Samuel Amegayibo of GRATA, Executive Secretary or Director of GRATA, joining the conversation. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Of course, Mr. Megaibo is in the studio with me. How do you prefer it? Do you prefer Sami or Samuel Amegaibo? Which one?
I think for the past 10, 15 years, people have called me Sami more than Samuel.
Sami Amegaibo.
And I'm okay with it.
All right.
Very much okay.
But it's Samuel initially.
Yes, it's Samuel, yeah.
All right. Prof, a very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, if you can hear me.
I can. Loud and clear.
And good morning to my co-panelists at the studio for making it to your studio.
Thank you very much.
So we'll start off the conversation talking about the cedi's free fall. In fact, when you look at Economy Times, among other papers today, they talk about that sharp inflationary rise and pushing the policy to 22% by 300 basis points. But you have said in recent times, as we situate the conversation, that even treasury bills, even where they are pegged, because it's been moved upward in terms of the interest on it, are not even a viable option. Let's talk about where we find ourselves really, the reality when it comes to the free fall of the cedi, its depreciation by about, 4 cedis to the dollar in this year. What is this? Break it down to the smallest bits for the ordinary Ghanaian.
Yes, of course. If your cedi or your currency is depreciating, it has good side and a bad side. But then the bad side, to our perspective, is more than the good side. Now, we have an economy where we import more than we export, for which almost every product you see on the shelf is an imported product. So, if an ordinary person wants to know how these indicators feels in his pocket, he should look at his purchasing power of, whatever money he has, and then going out there to buy or to assess, certain levels of services. Obviously, will have impact on the person's pocket. When it happens like that, what we call disposable income, which at the end of the day, you look at what you are earning and then what you can buy with it, and then possibly what you can save also goes down. So if you look at the structure of our economy, the institutions we have, the financial institutions, do more savings than individuals, because the individuals, after taking care of, their consumption, what is left in their pocket is nothing to write about. So effectively, savings ability goes down. Now, if someone imports, product onto his shelves and is uncertain how much it will cost him to purchase $1 in the next 3 months, you should anticipate that the person will not absorb, or the businessman will not absorb this, possible uncertainties in the currency. And remember, once it's an international transaction, you're going to use dollars. When you cross even to Ivory Coast, dollar is more, appreciated than even the CFA. When you cross to Burkina Faso to go and import onion, dollar is more appreciated than, the Francophone CFA. So effectively, it tells you that whatever transaction we are doing outside, the borders of this country, you will need, dollars. And so if the person has imported and the goods are on the shelves and he's not certain the quantum of cedis he will need, or he or she would need to purchase the dollar in the next 3 months, this person will not absorb that risk. He is going to pass it on to the consumer. So obviously, you realize that prices that are, supposed to go on the market at a low cost, the person will start putting some margins on it just to make up for these uncertainties. Now, if you look at the investment side, you realize that interest rate, if you run across all the interest rate structures, be it treasury bills. This morning I was listening to your news and they were talking about the 1 year bill going for around 28 or 29 percent, and then the 91 day going for around, I think, 25 or 24. But investors are more comfortable with the 91 day. Now, somebody will ask, why would the investor be more comfortable with the 91 day whilst, the 1 year gives more, rate of interest than the 91? The reason being that the investor hasn't got a confidence in the 1 year, because if he turns up the 1 year, he doesn't know how things are going to be. He's looking at the purchasing power of his money. So if he receives the 1 year return, what is the likelihood, or what are the possible products he can buy with? What is the purchasing power of this, 1 year interest that is going to earn? Looking at the inflation rate. If you look at inflation rate, clearly, as it stands now, it's about 31%. And it's way above any of the investment structures we have, the returns on any of the investment structures we have, including mortgage, for my good friend at the studio. So effectively, for mortgage, we'll say it's a long term. So this could be one of the turmoils that the dynamics will go through. But over a longer time, there could be an appreciation for which someone who is investing in mortgage, it's a long-term, investment. So we'll start benefiting from the returns on, this mortgage. But for short-term investment, the investor horizon, that is the investor's confidence, going long-term has reduced. So even if the investor wants to invest, 1 year, he will prefer doing 191 rollover for 4 times, because the uncertainty that he faces as a result of price increase is so high that he cannot, be comfortable committing his funds for the next 1 year. So therefore, they will prefer, the short-term, horizon. So I can tell you that having your inflation going up and then having interest rate structures not meeting, the inflation rate will obviously reduce the investor confidence. But then let's also look at the Bank of Ghana's measures, the MPC's high increase in the monetary policy rate. Right. I would say that, yes, it is a step in the right direction, because, of course, once you get that differential of inflation and interest rate, the sense is that there are some, excess liquidity rolling around, the system. So you may want to mop it up. Now, let's get the quotation clear. the excess liquidity Bank of Ghana is targeting, I look at it at the bank level, not at the individual level. At the individual or business level.
So just to break it down, sorry to truncate your thoughts. I want you to be as basic as possible. So when you say excess liquidity, you are basically saying excess cash in the system.
Excess cash, yes. Excess cash flowing through the system. That is, you're looking at business to business, you're looking at individuals to business and all those. But I see this excess cash in the hands of, the banks. That is what Bank of Ghana thinks. And now that, inflation is going up and exchange rate is also going up. The exchange rate has gotten to a point where I would say the dollar has become more or less a store of value instead of, for transactional purposes. Because usually when you are going for a dollar in the bank, you are going to use it to transact, business, or you're going to use it to stock. So now the weight is more on the storage than for the transaction because of the rate at which for the past, 6 months to 8 months, it has been shooting up. So investors will prefer, including the banks themselves, they will prefer, keeping the dollar than to investing in, government, bills. So once the monetary policy rate goes up, which has a feed into the exchange rate, it is anticipated that, which has a feed into the interest rate, it is anticipated that the banks or the financial institutions' appetite will grow into the area of the treasury bills, so that at least government can mop up this excesses from them. Other than that, they will use it to buy the dollar. So there will be pressures on the dollar, So these are things that we should anticipate when you have some of these indicators, going up.
All right, let me come into the studio to Mr. Amegaibo, who joins the conversation from the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association. And let me just break it down for you. All of us are impacted. So in recent times, I shared this story of a friend who has to pay to the London Dental Institute every month a sum of £700 because she's undergoing some studies with them. Throughout this year, for example, it's been appreciating. We've lost about $4, the value of about 4 cedis to the dollar. Now, just last month, for £700, she paid 7,405 cedis, 16 pesos. That was in July. In August, for the same £700, guess how much she had to pay? 8,910 cedis, 28 pesos. 1,505 plus cedis added on, about another £65 added on. Today, as we sit here, there's this online course I take. But some of us, dollar accounts, my dollar account has been. So guess what? The hit I take is on my CD account because I only keep CDs. It's CDs that I have. I had a long time ago, I had a dollar account. So they take it from my CD account. And guess what? The exchange rate hits me. The charges hit me on my account. So what is it like for you?
Let me give you my own situation. I took an invoice from Sufami, one of this glass company, to do a job. And the estimate was 550-something thousand Ghana cedis. Now, I have to go through processes, project team, and then approval from the client and all that. By the time I was done with this approval, which took me about 3 weeks, I went back to Sufami, and the price has gone up by 680 or so, which means that I have to pay over 100,000 extra just in the space of 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
3 weeks.
And how much extra were you paying?
The price originally was around 550 something. Whilst I was going through the preparation to go and pay, and I got all the approvals, then now the price is suddenly 680, because at the bottom of the invoice was the dollar CD equivalent rate that they put in a very small font at the bottom. So if you go to buy it, which was around $67,000 something dollars. So $67,000 after 3 weeks, check it out and see. It had gone up $1,000, which was originally 550 something, has suddenly gone to 680,000 in 3 weeks.
So an addition of about what, 130,000
in 3
Ghana
weeks.
cedis?
Yes.
In 3 weeks?
In 3 weeks. So when I'm hit like this on a project, how do you expect me to execute this project?
Wow.
So there has to be a hold on. I have to call, the team has to be called back. And I'm sure by the time we are done with the second stage of the approval, it might go up again. Or else we just look at the dollar equivalent rate there and quickly go and pay. That is how bad the situation is for our industry.
What does it mean for business when it comes to planning, when it comes to even passing on cost? Because I've heard you in recent times say that, look, the reality is we can't take the hit. We have to pass it on to the consumer.
That's the only thing. I mean, it's so difficult. See, our product is not the supermarket item where in 24 hours you can produce a tin of milk or a package of sugar. We go through a process that can take a year or even beyond, depending on the project you are running. So if you start a project where you bought a bag of cement at 40 Ghana cedis from the beginning of the project, and then midway the project, you are buying cement at 55, and then you are ending at 68. How do I price the house? Do I price my foundation based on the old rates and come and price my superstructure based on the rate at that time and then price my finishing with the current rate? That is why we used to use the dollar index to guide us. But I must be frank with you, the dollar indexing has not helped us all through. It only cushioned us a bit. Because if you look at when COVID struck, that was December within the year that COVID struck, price of iron rods shot up within that year to 42%.
Right. I know that even recently it shot up.
It shot up again.
I've got for a ton or so for about 6,000 moved to 8,000.
8,000, yes.
I don't know whether it's increased.
Yes, it has increased.
It has increased from 8,000.
Yes, it has increased. So from 20, when did the COVID strike?
2020,
yeah.
Late 2020.
So 2020 December to early January 2021, there was high prices everywhere. Cement was from 38 to 42. And then within a month or so, it went from 42 to 46. And then after some months, and I think a year or so, it shot to 55. In fact, it makes the business very difficult to manage. And especially when you have a contractual relationship with, especially contractors, who have signed deals with people to execute a project at a price. And you get these things hitting you so badly. And with the COVID, it was not just the dollar exchange rate alone, but international prices went up. And in our products, we have cement and iron rods as the two major components of our products. And we did not have any control. If it was something that was being manufactured locally and you can manage it, that's fine. But these are international prices. So we were hit with three things. The cost of the product, which had gone up internationally. Then the cost of freight, which had gone up for 300%. Can you imagine how much it cost you to import these goods? Had gone up by 300%. Then the dollar exchange rate. Even at that time, the dollar exchange rate was not too bad. So there was focus on the international prices itself and then the freight cost. And then now, the dollar exchange rate has just worsened everything altogether. And it is making it almost impossible to breathe. And I don't know what government is going to do about this.
Let me just announce as well that we've been joined by Eric Kweku-Boateng, President of the Automobile Dealers Union of Ghana. I will stay with you, but let me just usher him into the conversation. Mr. Boateng, a very good morning to you, sir. We appear to have lost Mr. Boateng. We'll try to reconnect with him. That's another industry that has been severely hit.
Yeah.
The automobile industry. But let me put these two questions to you very quickly. One, has demand for real estate products, your products, has demand shrunk? And how much more? You're saying that it's difficult to breathe. How much more can you take, basically, if it continues like this?
If it is the exchange rate, we may probably be okay a bit, but it will be difficult for the consumer. Because for me, my products is just based on my expenses, and then I add on my profits and overheads. We mostly sell sometimes directly to the public who come and engage us directly, and they may have a relationship with us to say, I'm going to pay by installment over a period of a year. We cannot do beyond the project lifeline. I hope you understand that.
Right.
If my project is going to take me a year or two, my flexible terms with you can just span over that period.
Right.
But beyond that, you may have to go and get a mortgage. So if you get a mortgage and you pay me at the beginning of my project, me and you, we are done. Then the problem is you and the mortgage companies. How are you going to pay the mortgage company? And if you are a CD earner, It is crazy. Because you can see the differences that we just calculated.
Like it's going to hit me today.
Yes.
So I'm paying in dollars, but it's from my CD account.
And it's a big issue. So we say we only hedge it against the dollar. So I index my price. If my price is $100, you call me, I have my calculator by my side. I quickly multiply by the exchange rate by the morning. But the challenge has to be with people who are paying mortgages. In the sense that, for me, if I get a direct payment from a mortgage company, like I said, I'm secured. But what about the final consumer who is paying installment back to the mortgage?
And if I may add, how about the one who maybe wants to pay you outright?
Yes.
I'm sure if the person is done with the payment, no matter what overheads you put there, and then the depreciation keeps up, how do you keep up? Because the person has sorted you out.
Yes.
But then how do you maintain the same standards with prices inching up?
With the for me and my product?
Yes.
No.
I mean, assume someone comes, assume I come to you and I say, you say maybe it's pegged at 300,000 CDs, and I pay you off.
Okay.
And you are still in the phase of construction.
Yes.
And then prices keep going up. Are you going to come back to me and say, oh, no,
if you paid me off, I can't come back to you.
That's the problem. But you will take the hit.
Yes, that's my wahala. I have to deal with it. And I don't know how individual companies are managing it, but it's a very serious challenge. In fact, some will have to abrogate projects and come back to the table to renegotiate with the people. And you will be lucky to get a customer who understands. And
have you had to do that?
Yes, several times. It happens.
You've had to do that?
You have to. And that's the reality. I cannot put in less cement or less iron rod because I'm hit, because it will compromise durability and quality. So I have to bring you back to the table, and then we agree. And in normal estimation for contractors, we put in some percentage of contingency.
Right.
The contingency has been eroded. It doesn't work anymore. Normally we do plus or minus 10% or so. These days it doesn't work. You are working, and by 5 to 6 months thereabouts, this contingency is already eroded. So you must get a client who understands and will be willing to come back to the table, and then you look at it. And it has happened in a few cases that I'm aware of as well.
I want to quickly go to Mr. Boateng, but the other bit I asked, has demand shrunk? Just very quickly. Has demand slowed down?
It has slowed down. I would not say it has shrunk. Funny enough, a lot of, when we had our stakeholder engagement, I did a little checkup with some of our members. A few will say, oh, during this COVID and now, I have rather made a lot of sales. Others will also say that there has been a very high increase in inquiries, not necessarily translated into sales yet, inquiries. And then others will tell you, oh, the business is so bad that I don't know what I'm going to do. So I went beyond that and checked what was happening. I realized that most of the Ghanaian residents, those people in Ghana, were those who were struggling to buy houses.
Right.
But Ghanaians in the diaspora were now willing to come home.
Hard currency, dollars, euros, pounds.
They were fine because I think COVID taught them some lesson, began to invoke in them that, look, you people have to start preparing going home. So that's why there was a lot of increase in inquiries and a few sales by some people. But the local Ghanaians, it was a big problem.
So that is testament to the fact that if you are here in Ghana, you're earning cedis. Of course, there are people in Ghana, expats and all, who are earning in hard currency. But if you're earning cedis, then you'll feel the pinch, because if you want to transact or purchase anything, the exorbitant exchange rate will hit you. But let me bring in Mr. Boateng, President, Automobile Dealers Union of Ghana. Thank you for joining the conversation, sir.
Welcome, sir. Thank you.
Great. You've heard, I'm sure you're listening in, you're watching, and Mr. Mbegaibo has painted a certain picture. For you, what is your reality on the back of the dollar to CD, pound to CD, euro to CD exchange rates?
Once again, thank you. And then let me say good morning to your cherished viewers. Yes, as the discussion is going on, I was listening to my senior brother. And it's true, as you were asking, as for the dollar issue is very, very tough for our industry, in the sense that this morning I even called one of my guys, what the dollar rate now, because somebody wants to come and buy my car, and which I have to calculate the import, the buying, and the clearing at the port. I have to calculate all those things, and then also check the current dollar rate, so that I could not run to lost. And it's almost 11 cedis. That is what my guy told me, that the dollar was up now. And my brother, it's very tough because as a businessman and now of this, if you wake up in the morning, what you realize that you have to call, check what is going on in the system before you can move on. So if you're asking me about the dollar, because our business that we are doing now, all it's about is dollar. Because we buy the cars in dollars. For instance, we have bought Toyota Corolla, like maybe $12,000 in the US. You ship it maybe about $1,500 or $2,000. And then port, the government is waiting for you to calculate the amount you bought the car from there, where the car is coming from. So it's going to calculate the dollar rate, then you use it for, paying for your duty. So after the car will come out, you have to calculate all those things, then add your profit. So it's very tough. So now if you go to our garages, all the cars has been bound there. Customers are not patronizing it because today, in and out, the dollar as it's going, the prices too is going up. So this is what we are even telling the government, that if you can just give it a fixed price, because if you go to Togo, if you go to Ivory Coast or even Nigeria, if you are importing maybe 40-footer container, maybe 5 cars will be in, it's a one fixed price. They will quote one price. So if 5-10 years, that's the price, Nigerians are quoting. But Ghana, for instance, a small village like Ghana, if you import car from maybe US or whatever, the country, world, and you just arrive at your destination, as the dollar goes up, the duty too is going up. And it's a challenge to our industry. So it's something we have to, look at it and then see the way we, the car importers or the car dealers, we can get a fair pay platform to showcase our business,
right?
To grow our economy also.
And that was a question I was about to put to Mr. Amegaibo. Fortunately, you've brought it up. So you would call for some level of standardization, because others in different industries have called for that. That let's have some standardized rates so that at least we can plan with them, because right now it's simply not working. But you're also saying then that sales have really dipped. I mean, can you give us percentages in real terms when you look at your own self and your members? What percentages can you give us? If you were selling maybe 10 cars, how many are you able to sell now?
My brother, that's a very important question you are asking. As I'm speaking with you now, with your viewers, from January, as I'm speaking now, I just sold only 2 cars.
You sold 2 cars?
Only 2 cars. And those cars are Toyota Corolla. Now, those cars are moving. I have about 30 to 40 cars in my garage. And as a president of Automobile, in our quarters, every day in out, members from Kumasi, members from Central, Western, members from the top there, always complaining, Chairman, President, what is going on? What's the dollar? What is this? What is that? And, it's something. So it's a very big blow to our industry. Let me go back somewhere May. We had a meeting with our gentleman, Ken Furiata, that's our finance minister, concerning the benchmark value reversal. We had opportunity with the GUTA and other stakeholders. We met our brother Ken Furiata, that's our Minister of Finance. And we started, hammering about this benchmark reversal. So we told him that, my brother, what we have heard, that if we said we are going to reverse the benchmark value, it will affect the business and also the economy. So let's look that angle very well, so that it could be that reversal should come back to our business. Because any business person, if you want to go and buy something, what you are expecting is profit. So as a government, the moment you said, okay, this is my target every year, you've been exceeding it. So why should you temper the benchmark value? It will be a big blow. And the smart of our finance minister came out with, okay, then if you reset that with this team, that is what they are coming to tell us, that instead of reversing the 30% from the automobile dealers and also the 50% from the GUTA and the coal, what they can do is that, because the country needs the revenues, they can even, adjust our own to 10%. Then the Neguta will be to 30%. Then that means from the 50% to 30%, 30% to 10%. That is we, the automobile dealers. I told him that it will be a problem. So just remain where it is. If it's not, it will be a big blow. Because assuming we are almost about 6 or 7 of us having a meeting in these small premises, but we are the Ghanaians. Let's put our president aside. Aside the president, you, the finance minister, senior, this is Ken Oforiatta, and me, the automobile, I'm represent all the automobile dealers union, automobile industry, players. I'm representing them in this particular meeting. This is my brother, Guta, or Natobin, is present. And then customs, commissioner, Damwa is also present. Right. And all the gurus. So we, the gurus here, we are representing Ghana. So anything we say here, it will affect the local people on the grounds or even the market. I said I didn't take it seriously. After, within 2 or 3 weeks' time, then the economy started cramming. And that is what we are facing as I'm speaking with you now. And now see the dollar also. So everything is just mixed up in this particular dollar. And Master, as a country of Ghana, these our brothers from the Burkina Faso, they by road, they won't come in the genuine way. They will just enter inside the country, somewhere from Mali, somewhere. And now, they will connive with, because what I realized that is, our dollar is, Bank of Ghana is the own government institution decide for how the dollar will goes about. Because if you send something from abroad, what I realized that is just Ghana, Bank of Ghana, they are in charge of $2. So how come dollar should be like a struggling point that if you want a dollar as a businessman, every day in, day out, the price is somebody is dictating how the dollar rate will go about. Now go to Tudu, go to Kauli, go to airport, residential area. You see them sitting there. They are deciding our dollar, how the dollar should go. And our big men too are sitting in their comfortable offices, enjoying what is going on because they are not trading with dollars. And we, the businessmen in the community, we are suffering. What is it happening? Go to even, South Africa. Rands, and then the dollar. They value their rands than even our dollar. But now in this particular era we are in Ghana, our big men are focusing in dollar than cedis.
Right.
And we, the down people, instead of getting the dollar very comfortable zone to operate our business with it, it's very difficult for us to get it. So, my senior, it's very difficult to predict or to say that what is the solution? The solution
we'll get to the solutions. That's the very next step. I'll have all of you look at the solutions very quickly. But I just want to sneak in this question. Has it got to the point where some of your dealers are contemplating quitting this industry altogether?
Very well. All of them. Because about 90%, everybody's complaining. Everybody wants to see the solution. Everybody wants to see the roadmap. Because, one, the government is the steer of this particular dollar issue. And, your father is not complaining anything about what's the next of your education or what are you going to do from the future. Then it's a blow to the family. So that's where we are now.
Right.
So as a dealer, every day in, day out, I can't sleep because my members are complaining about how, the environment is going now. So what about me, the dealer?
All right. Mr. Watting, hold for me. So now we're getting to the solutions, and that's how we'll wrap this belt of the conversation. But before we get into the solutions, Mr. Amagaibo, quickly, he's spoken about some standardization. He's spoken about what's the term again? The benchmark values and all of that. Now we have EVAT and all of those coming into the system as well. Is there any standardization that will impact your industry for the better? Is there any such approach for you?
I'm not too sure. You know,
because for them it is clear, but for you it will be difficult. Right?
Yeah, we are users of products. So whatever happens in the arrangement of how the product gets in is where we are concerned about.
So if there is any valuation, it would have to be on the product.
Products, yes. So as soon as the product is on the market, we have to go and purchase.
All right.
So anything that will affect the arrangement to bring the product on the market, then we are concerned about it.
All right. So gentlemen, let's talk solutions now. I'll start with Professor Mensah on this beat. There are three things I want to run by you. First of all, this standardization that has been spoken of by Mr. Boateng. He's not the first person making mention of it. And then again, there's the issue of hoarding of the dollar, which we have all heard about. It's becoming a big problem. Industry players tell you that even when they want the dollar. Someone was telling me yesterday that he went somewhere. The person held $500 and said even if he was willing to give the person 11 plus CDs, the person would still not sell the dollar. So hoarding as well. And then factor that into the policies that the central bank is rolling out. Our financial planners. You say the MPC's policy rate of 22% works, but what else needs to be done? So put that together and give us solutions that you see moving forward.
Of our economy. I mean, clearly, if you can hear me.
I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes. You see, I don't know how the forward market that was created by Bank of Ghana, how active it is. But I know Bank of Ghana has been issuing calendar for which at the bank level, their relationship with the bank, they issue, if I say forward market, the forward market is one of the means of, managing the uncertainties in the, the dynamics of, foreign exchange, not the dynamics of foreign exchange. You can apply it to, interest rate as well. But then Bank of Ghana announced this forex, auction for the forwards, and it has been in existence since 2021. And I don't know how active it is, but I know over the years they've been issuing forward market for which you can buy the dollar in anticipation. So effectively, if the banks want to sell the dollar or they want to purchase the dollar from Bank of Ghana, they can buy it at at a certain rate fixed over the next 3 months or the next 4 months. But for the transmission between the banks and then the businesses, I don't know how they operate, this market. But for that structure to be in place, it should be a best way to peg the dollar in demand at a certain fixed rate in demand for maybe for the next 3 months or the next 6 months that you'll be doing your business. I can hear my good friend who has been importing cars saying that, yes, sometimes as they are selling in cities, they are not aware of how the dollar is going to be in the next 4 months. In that regard, they can go into an agreement with the forward market if, it is active, and then by so doing, but I believe the banks are operating in that, kind of corridors with the Bank of Ghana. But transmission to the businesses and then to the individuals is what I don't know. I don't know how they're operating on that. But I can tell you that if Bank of Ghana should go all out and increase even the forex market, over the years I've seen they've been, issuing about $50 million forward market, which the banks get it at a fixed rate. Over the past, I think 24 months or so. But then if they will insist that they will pass on the same mechanism to the businesses, it should be able to help in solving some of these uncertainties and problems that the businesses face.
Okay.
The other hand is
and owing to the fact that we have limited time for this end of the conversation, Prof, I would appreciate it if you could summarize your thoughts a bit.
Yes. Okay. So fine. The structures that Bank of Ghana put in place, looking at buying the dollars from the mining companies and then the oil companies, that will also have a way of bringing. What is happening now? All that we need is to increase, the buffer of our dollar reserve, and that should be able to curb all this situation. I think those measures put in place, together with increasing, the quantums of issues on the forward market, and insisting that they pass it on to, the businesses in the same manner, should be able to help in that regard. so that, when my friend businessmen are in need of the dollar for the next 5 months, they can fix the price and then pay a premium for it. And over the time, they go for the dollar at that rate that they agreed on with the bank.
Right. Prof, hold, stay with me. Let me bring in Mr. Boateng. So what for you is the solution, the way forward?
Thank you very much, my brother. The way forward, I think the government, the main key is that from the government.
Okay.
The government must sit down with the business community. What is the way forward to, steady our dollar, and also which angles which will help the business community to, sustain the dollar so that the cities cannot always fall like the way we see now. One, we are discussing about the way forward. For instance, in the black market bureaus, governments can target, because somewhere in 1997, Lawrence did it, and it's happened. For instance, that if somebody will need a dollar, there's no need for him to go to the black market. He should go to the Forest Bureau. And all over the world, it's going on there. But our leaders are just looking at it. If you go to Kauli, Tudu, and this airport residential, they are sitting there calling people, come and change your money, come and change your money. Do you need dollar? And it's either here or there. So government is supposed to put its foot on the ground and then regulate it very well that anybody who needs dollar, he should go to the bureau, Forest Bureau, somebody who lands it, because these people, they are not even paying taxes.
Right.
So all those things are making our dollar some way the other. So I think government should look that angle. And the second one too, we the automobile dealers, importers, we need a flat rate to calculate our import at the port. Because if you clear the car, as I said earlier, dollar is up, it means that the duty too is supposed to be going up. Right. So we can have a flat rate. Somewhere other countries are doing it. They can copy from Nigeria. If government don't know the way out, they should invite us. We'll show them the way. That if 5 years, we can put it on the line that any car from maybe US all over the world, you import it to this particular country. This is the rate you're supposed to pay for it or the container. And you can even sit down and then know the best how, your capital cannot be for or be wasted.
All right.
So it's very important for government to look at that angle also. And it will help the business community to...
All right, Mr. Boateng, so I think your point is made. We're very grateful that you could join us with your thoughts. Let me come into the studio and wrap with Mr. Amegaiwo.
Yeah, I think both Prof and Mr. Boateng have talked about how government needs to work hard to stabilize the dollar.
Right.
But for us, because we depend on inputs for our products, I thought that when COVID struck us, we would have learned our lesson to begin to look at local production. What has the government done to assist local production of the inputs that we need? I think that is one area that government should look at critically and assist businesses that are trying to set up to build factories or industries to build, to supply us our inputs, to be given the needed support and attention so that the over-reliance on importation can be kept as much as possible. And then also, maybe government will have to look at this Bank of Ghana directive not to allow us to index our prices to the dollar. I think it's a big challenge right now.
Oh, you want to quote your prices in dollars?
We indexing. We are not interested in collecting dollars from anybody. But what is happening is that when we are in the business of selling...
So the value of the dollar.
The value of the dollar. Because anything that you sell, you should be able to have the money to replace what you have sold out. But from what is happening now, what we sell, we are not able to replace. The value is depreciating so badly that something that you sell for 100 cedis today, in 3 months, you are only getting 80 cedis out of it.
So in other words, you want to
constantly.
You want to quote your prices in dollars.
Just to index it, so that if somebody comes to me and I have that direct relationship with, and I'm selling and he's paying by installment, if he paid me 20% of it, what happens to the balance? I should be able to determine the balance in dollars so that the next time he's coming to pay, he's paying the equivalent at that time.
Okay.
But if he says no, what will happen is that the value of my relationship with him would devalue so badly that by 4 months' time, I would have lost the value of the product. And then also taxes. I think they should do something about taxes to give us a bit of space to breathe. For example, if we import clinker into this country, the taxes that the clinker importers pay is a percentage of the product price. So if internationally the dollar has gone bad and even international prices has gone bad, it means that government is indirectly benefiting also from that. So can we look at maybe giving some flat rates for those taxes instead of applying the percentage import? Because if I import 100 cedis of goods from outside, and government's percentage is 10%, it means that now that the price is 150 or 200, government is directly benefiting. And so it should try and remove those taxes from there and give us maybe a small, or even suspend taxes for a while. Businesses are not doing well. It is better you do something to sustain business than to make them collapse, where employees will have to go home without money. Employees have wives and children at home to take care of. So the repercussions will be very high. But if you help businesses to sustain and you give them those relief for this period where we are having a hard time, when things get better, you can resume with your taxes. But I think they can do something about taxes.
Practical solutions being proffered there. Eric Kwekuboateng, President, Automobile Dealers Union of Ghana. We've also been joined by Samuel Amegaibo, who is Chief Executive of Grada. They have joined us with their thoughts in terms of how they're feeling the pinch and what the way forward is. But stay with me, Professor Lord Mensah. We move on to the next belt of this conversation, which has to do with the conflict of interest situation involving Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta and the Minister of State for Finance at the Office of the Presidency, Charles Edubuahin. I'll start with you, Professor Mensah. When you look at all these accusations that have come forward about 0.5% and Databank and Black Star Limited being transactional advisors, there's been a lot of talk about the fact that it didn't start today. It started going back maybe even 20 years plus. Why are we now victimizing them? What is your basic understanding of the situation, Professor Mensah?
I mean, I've had a problem with the way and manner we appoint, our ministers, and looking at some of the procedures they go through, vetting in Parliament seem to be kind of a formality which they go through. You could see a minister going through a vetting. You know very well that this minister is not supposed to get a job. A minister gets appointment without any benchmark as to how he's going to be measured, on his output. All that we do is to, spend on them. At the end of the day, you ask yourself, how would an economy grow? Based on such, procedures of getting public officers to work for us. I know our constitution, comes out clear to prevent this conflict of interest. But let me tell you, our constitution is mainly framed, having at the hint side that individuals or public officers are going to be rational. Now, if you are part of a company and you declare that you are no more part of the company, but you still hold shares, I think for me, it's enough for me to tell you that, yes, you can't get a job because the interest in there. I understand. Yesterday on this program that you've been having in the mornings, I was on it.
You mean Saturday Newsfile?
Yes, Newsfile. I was on it, and I indicated that clearly the way and manner we get our ministers is kind of a problem. You see, you can work with a company, but when you exit the company, it should take some time because usually your ties with the company may influence your decision making. It doesn't matter how you look at it. So for instance, you will see somebody who has just exited Bank of Ghana and the person is appointed a board member of a particular bank. Now, this person has strong ties with the Bank of Ghana. At any point in time, whatever the person needs, The person can just pick a phone and then use his influence. Because we should understand that human beings, we're not going to be rational throughout our dealings. There are irrationality component that comes, that you may not know. Effectively, the person will say, okay, this is the information you need. Let me just call, somebody at the Bank of Ghana. Because he's worked there, he still has a tie in there. So let me put it this way. Before, we need to revisit our constitution and say that, hey, look, before you are appointed as a finance minister, you might have owned, an investment bank company. You might have been, a bank owner. But then when you exit or you decide to relinquish that position, it should take you about 4 years before you can pick up the position of a finance minister. By that time, hopefully, let me put it that way, your ties, with that institution would have, gone down. And so I think it has a problem with ethical issues. This country, that is what is killing us. So at the end of the day, we should, really look into some of the ways and manner we appoint, our ministers. Something was telling me that, so does it mean that experts in certain areas might not be involved in some of these, technical and the related ministerial positions? I say, yes, you can appoint them. We've had ministers who were not owners of banks, who were not, what do you call it? Owners of financial institutions. But at the end of the day, this ethical and conflict of interest issues were minimized. And so we should look at it carefully and look at how the president appointed Ken Ofori-Atta. He came up and directly, he is his cousin. And look at what is happening now. Calling for his head, the president won't even listen. Because all these ties are playing that major role of maybe, this is my cousin, he's occupying a position. How do I, get him off this position? It's going to be a family problem. So we should really look at the way and manner we define some of these conflict of interest issues in our constitution. And it will go a long way to help us.
Prof, so some quick questions on the back of what you said. One, do you then agree that Ken Ofori-Atta should be sacked? Two, do you feel there has been conflict of interest? And three, finally, do you feel that because of the surrounding issues, it has even influenced the borrowing approach of Ken Ofori-Atta?
Oh yeah, the tendencies are there. At the point in time, I thought, Ghana was developing what I called bond issue maniac. We're developing kind of, appetite, unnecessary appetite for issuing bond. We had policies. We had policies that could have helped us to improve on our export. We had policies that could have helped us to reduce our import. In a way, you are more or less reducing your foreign exchange dependence. At the end of the day, did we put more emphasis or did we put more weight on those policies? At the point in time, we were more or less focusing on borrowing more than thinking about our planting for food and jobs, thinking about our 1D, 1F, thinking about our agriculture policies that would have enhanced our reduce our importation of food. So effectively, at that aspect, because of the benefit, the likely benefit that the finance minister, would have gotten from, the issuing of bond, the tendencies are there. I will not mince words on that because, you cannot tell me that as a human being, he's going to behave rational throughout his dealings. He invested in the party. He invested in whatever campaign they did. And there's a point in time to pay back. How would he pay back? He will not dip his hand into public coffers. But these are some of the possible means that he can pay himself back for, committing to the party. The other part that you said, whether he should be sacked or not, I will say yes. That is why earlier on I mentioned that we appoint ministers without giving them benchmarks. So how do we assess them? By the end of their tenure, whether that minister has delivered or not. It's about time we look at that. For me, if you look at the economic indicators, where he picked the economy from, even at the point where we were with the IMF, even pre-IMF, right? We're not, getting these records of economic indicators. So if I have to benchmark him based on where he picked the economy from, I mean, devoid of the epochs or excesses like Ukraine war and then COVID, I would say that, yes, he's not done well.
Okay.
He should resign.
All right. Hold for me, Prof. Let me bring in Kweku Paintil, who is a lawyer. And I have a very pointed question for you. Legally speaking, what dynamics are at play when it comes to this specific situation? And will it wash this entire assertion that there is conflict of interest, especially as we know that the picture has been painted that Databank, for example, was doing this a long time ago, and that there are certain benchmarks that these financial houses have to meet. Once you meet them, you fall into that category, and then you become an advisor.
You will know that Article 284 of our 1992 Constitution expressly provides that a public officer shall not put himself in a position where his personal interest conflicts or is likely to conflict with the performance of the functions of his office.
Right.
So that's the starting point, a public officer. What we have not done in this country is to define or set out in regulations how this policy would be achieved. But quite naturally, for me, it's like Caesar's wife. She must be above suspicion. It is true that his company may have in the past performed such functions, possibly with selling qualities and all that. But that's not the issue. The truth of the matter is that this is Ghana. Ghana is a small country. And once you were with that company, irrespective, I noticed my good friend was even trying to limit it to 4 years and 5 years. For me, it goes beyond that. Because not the number of years that you left the company. In my very honest view, even though we have laws in this country, I'm talking about the Public Procurement Act and so forth and so on, that provides for a transparent manner of going about it. Our recent history has demonstrated that the very people who were even in the helm of affairs, the very people who were supposed to operate these rules and regulations in a transparent manner, the very watchmen were themselves not being watched. And therefore, you take yourself out of this context completely. So, I mean, with due respect, irrespective of the fact that his company had done it in the past, once you came out, leave the field open for other people. That is how integrity is defined in the public space. Because we all know in this country that if people get themselves at the top of things, the rules and the regulations, they don't play.
Right.
It's very simple as that. So, I mean, a conflict of interest is a conflict of interest. Any situation, this is the constitutional definition. But when it comes down to the very bottom, it comes down to the ordinary man on the street, it comes down to people like me. I mean, the conflict is there. And don't tempt yourself. Because there are some of these situations, let me tell you what, it's heads up, you lose, tail up, you lose. In other words, whatever you do. Because once, you see now, all the criticisms that are coming the minister's way, in my honest view, are unnecessary. If he himself had taken, ensured that his company, whatever their performance had been in the past, was taken out of all this space. I mean, it's as simple as that. Because now, as it is now, fair enough, his company is no longer a member. Is that what we say? Is he no longer a shareholder? Is there no way of going back to this company and profiting from what they are making out of it? At least he formed friendships. There were relationships and so forth and so on. So please, my honest view, I don't only speak as a lawyer. I speak as a Ghanaian. And it's something that we ought to learn as a country. And that's my own view, my very clear view on this subject of conflict of interest. That's it for now.
So for you,
you have other questions that you want to ask, I want to break it down.
All right, for you, Mr. Paintil, so we have just about some 2 minutes to do any breakdown. But for you, prima facie, on the face of it, there is conflict of interest, do you then agree that with Professor Mensah that the Minister of Finance should resign? And maybe by extension, since there is also Black Star and Charles Edubuahin, should they both resign?
You know, in Ghana, in Africa, all these issues of resignation, they seem like jokes. But elsewhere, that's the standard practice. And I would, for the sake of their own integrity, for the sake of their own honor, they're required to resign. And of course, if they're not resigning, somebody must push them. And that somebody is the President of the Republic of Ghana, who has the power to hire and fire. So that's my clear view on the subject. They are caught in a conflict of interest. Nobody knows how many millions they've got in their account. That money is never going to be returned to Ghana in spite of all the problems and the difficulties and the rush to IMF and all that. People get to keep that money. Why must they keep it? I will even go further, that the monies, the profits that they've made out of this transaction must be returned to the Republic. You know, I think sooner than later, we need to have very clear policies in this country that would ensure that people who profit through these means, these methods, these ways, must be compelled to vomit the money that they made out of our woes. That's my own view of this matter.
Okay, Mr. Paintel and Professor Mensah, so to sum up the conversation, 30 seconds each. We've all established, so to speak, that there is conflict of interest, and both of you are singing from the same hymn book that they should be sacked, or that the appointing authority, Mr. President, should sack them. If that doesn't happen, what would you say is the way forward? 30 seconds each. I'll stay with you, Mr. Paintel.
In Ghana, there's no way forward. There is no avenue for the constituents to throw them out of office or anybody to touch them in any way. Of course, somebody may raise an issue in the Supreme Court concerning the constitutionality of these people remaining in office in clear violation of Article 284 of the Constitution, taken together with other provisions of the Constitution. People may wish to take that one up. I mean, it's about time that we tested our Constitution in all ways, including the position of officers who refuse to go out, and that of our president who refuses to sack his ministers for clear breaches.
Okay. Stay with me, Mr. Paintel. Let me wrap with Professor Mensah as well. 30 seconds, your thoughts.
Our Constitution, thus allows us to, test, the law.
Right.
But then in the end, I can tell you that there's nothing we can do until election. Because, you know why people spend into, politics? We should ask ourselves. It's more or less an investment. The person spends knowing very well that, when he goes into the politics, he's going to make that money, and even in multiples of it. That is why they spend. So effectively, the system has been structured in that manner. And the only way we can deal with this is to, look at, 2024 and possibly decide whether we can retain such a minister with his administration or not.
Thank you so much, Professor Lord Mensah, for joining us this morning. He is a senior lecturer at University of Ghana Business School. Thank you so much, Prof. But stay with me, Mr. Paintel, because we'll need your legal expertise on the next conversation we're having as we wrap up with these big stories. And it has to do with the Menzgold saga. So recently, we heard from the director of IOCO, Mamia Tiwa Adudankwa, who seemed to suggest that, well, in terms of the law, we may have expended everything we should as a state, and yet we can't pin anything substantial on Nana Appiah Mensah and Menzgold, the defunct Menzgold, which would mean that basically there's no way forward with that instance. But we've heard from Deputy Finance Minister Dr. John Kuma, among others, saying that no, the process has not stalled. I want you to watch what Mamia Tiwa Adudankwa had to say recently, and then we'll take the conversation from there.
Sometimes you believe it. You know somebody has committed an offense. but you can't have any relevant law to support your case to prosecute. And like I said earlier, nothing is a crime unless there's an enactment making it a crime. So, example is Menzgold case. Which law, which act did it break? And it's becoming difficult even prosecuting that case because the law that will define the law, the offense, and also provide the elements, it's difficult to find. So, the relevant law defining absence of that is also making prosecution difficult. One of the difficult cases to prosecute or to investigate is economic or financial crime because it involves a lot of paperwork and you need to prove the cases not because of what you think, because you believe the truth is that the person has committed offense. But the fact is that you need to provide evidence. And if you can't find something, documents are not there, and you cannot even trace, the person is on retirement, and you cannot trace anything. It will even affect prosecution processes. And when people get away with crimes, the crime will continue. So one of the things that we'll talk about is the digitalization that will support prosecution. Because if you can't provide evidence, you can't do anything. Some of them invested their whole life. And after the collapse, they had nothing. And they thought dying was better than living and not having anything. So these are some of the financial, emotional stress. I know one police officer who collected his end of service benefit and then invested everything in Menzgold, and the person lost everything. Now he has become a drunkard, even though he wasn't like that, because he doesn't understand how he will live without that money, because he was investing to get the return to support during his time of pension, but now he doesn't have it. So he's having a whole lot of things on some of these things.
We have joining the conversation in the studio as well, Fred Forson, who is PRO for Menzgold customers. Mr. Forson, a very good morning to you.
Thanks for the opportunity, and I'm happy meeting you once again.
It's a pleasure. This isn't the first time.
Yes.
It's good to see you, at least hanging in there. But let me start off the conversation with Kweku Painter, a lawyer. Was it wrong for the boss of Iyoko to come out in this way? Some are saying it is, in essence, going to botch the legal matter when it comes to Menzgold customers, and they're getting what they deserve. And then again, there is the issue to do with the Securities and Exchange Commission and what role it has played over time and whether anything has changed. But from the legal angle, what does this do to the conversation?
I think first I'd like to comment directly on what I heard the police officer say.
Right.
I'll say that it's the most pathetic explanation ever that any government agency, I'm talking about the police in particular, or Iyoko, will give for the continuing non-prosecution of that matter. Because from the little that I know, even the business itself was contrary to law. In other words, the Bank of Ghana, we've got a whole law on the banking sector. We've got a whole law regulating this industry, and these people did it in direct contradiction. And from what we know, at least from the publications that we read, there were several notices that the Bank of Ghana had issued directly advising or warning these Menzgold operators of the illegality. So the law that is there expressly prohibits the conduct of the business. That is just one of several offenses that Menzgold would have committed. Obviously, if you want to prosecute, several offenses can be committed arising out of the same fact. So at the end of the day, you may have about 10, about 15, about 20 offenses that have been committed. So besides the fact that they conducted the business contrary to law, the whole business of collecting money from the public and purporting or pretending to be conducting this particular transaction, which at the end of the day was a hoax, was this like a form of fraud by false pretenses? I could line them one by one. At the end of the day, we could have several offenses that would have been committed. That's one part of it. So there can never be an excuse that the offenses that these people have committed cannot be found by law. All the things that she said theoretically are correct, but they are propositions. But what is founded on those allegations is what I dispute. In other words, as a matter of law, nothing is criminal, nothing is an offense unless it's expressly defined by law. I have said that the Bank of Ghana Act, we have the financial, I cannot remember the exact name, but financial institutions deposit. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to go there because I could have checked before coming online. But they are clear laws, very, very clear laws. So that's one part of it. The other part, of course, as she said, is evidence. I wouldn't know what kind of evidence that she requires or the Ghana police requires, and if it means that there are 5, 6, 7, 8 offenses that were committed in the same space, and you are saying that you must have the evidence for each one of them, and the failure to obtain evidence in one particular area will stop you, restrain you, or somehow restrict you from prosecution, it's unheard of. I mean, I cannot even believe it. I wouldn't know what kind of evidence. We've got the people out there in the street. We've got the deposit slips and all of these things. And you get these bankers and these accountants together, they can demonstrate a court of law that what these people had purported to do, they not only conflict with the law, but the whole edifice was constructed on nothing. In other words, even this business, that's why they've got a name they call this pyramid. A pyramid transaction is essentially a fraudulent transaction because unsustainable as an economic venture. And so I'm very sorry that a high officer in the Ghana Police Service who is in charge of this matter or somehow involved would make that statement. I believe there is a lack of will on the part of those who are in charge. That's the way I look at it.
A lack of will.
Yes.
The Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. John Kuma, has said, as far as government is concerned, the matter is still in court. And so I guess that glosses over anything that the Iyoko boss could have said. Martin Kpebu says, like you are saying, that there are many things we can latch onto, legally speaking. But does it surprise you from this end, very quickly? Eduji Tamaklo, for example, says that if there are no issues, then on what basis did we even start the legal, prosecution of NAM1? Does that come across to you as a curiosity?
Well, it's quite curious because I have not found a specific reason that was given for stopping the prosecution. And like I said, I wouldn't actually know whether the prosecution has stopped. But the thing about criminal offense, criminal liability, is that it is not time-barred. In other words, if you committed an offense 50 years ago, and then we found at the time, possibly for any reason, even the evidence was not available, anytime the evidence is pieced together, you can always be prosecuted. That's why I'm talking about the will to prosecute these people. But I cannot believe that the matter has been withdrawn or for any reason discontinued because of the alleged non-availability of evidence. As for that, I will not accept it, and I invite Ghanaians not to accept it.
All right.
As simple as that.
Stay with me, Mr. Painter. We've heard from different people. Martin Kpebu, like I was saying, Fred Forson, has said that the authorities must work, do something extra to ensure that Menzgold doesn't get away with anything. How do you react to that statement? And how do you react, first of all, to the Iyoko boss and what she's saying now?
Excuse me, what did the Iyoko boss say in particular?
Well, that is what you just heard, which you reacted to.
Yeah, it's a shame that if the Iyoko boss said that. But then let me put it this way. This is not the first pyramid case that we have had in Ghana.
Right.
And I'm telling you that the boldness and the confidence with which people engage in this business, they get away with it, it's a shame. And please, let me put it this way. Possibly there's an aspect of this matter that maybe the lawyers concerned in this have not done. Elsewhere, the only reason why governments become responsible and governments become alert to their duties as regulators. I'm talking about the Bank of Ghana now, the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning now. is that they are not sued. You see, what has happened in this country is that they left the space open, notwithstanding the warning, so I hear, that were issued. I believe that some of these people who have suffered at the hands of NAM1 and other pyramid operators is to sue the government itself directly. Because, see, in law, there's certain as misrepresentation. Besides misrepresentation, there's certain as negligence. When somebody who owes is responsible for ensuring that things do not happen, somehow relaxes, somehow does nothing very significant about it in time. And by that silence, by that negligence, by that non-action, encourages people to engage in the conduct that brings losses to them. The gate man, the regulator, must be held responsible.
All right.
You see, these things have not been done in Ghana. It's about time. Even if you go to court and at the end of the day you lose your case because they're able to demonstrate that maybe they did, as they say, what Napoleon couldn't do, it would then become something that will become a way of monitoring things in the country. Because my personal view of this matter is that a lot of times these people, they operate, I mean, the impudence, that will put it that way.
Right.
That NAM1 operated and got everybody's attention. I don't honestly believe that the Bank of Ghana, even if occasionally they issue notices on this matter, they did enough to warn the public. I've heard people say that, oh, Ghanaians will always do it, whatever. That is so, but that is so. Some will always do it. But what about those others who were only encouraged or spurred on as a result of the negligence and the misrepresentation? Yes.
Right. Right. So those are the questions that the tough questions we have to ask. Hold for me, Mr. Painter. Maybe when I come back to you, it will just be a summary of what to do moving forward, maybe some 30 seconds. But let me come into the studio. Fred Forson is PRO of the Menzgold customers. Your reaction to those questions I posed?
Yes, Benjamin, thank you very much once again. I want to also use this opportunity. You know, the last time we were here, I came with my brother, Stephen. He had a problem with the eye. You remember AM show?
Yes.
And immediately after the program, we had somebody who came to his aid. And I'm sure this week, the surgical operation will be done. In fact, he's been going to hospital and now the condition is improving. So I want to use this opportunity on behalf of our executives to thank a multimedia company. And I must say that right from day one, you have been with us. This is not the first time you have extended this courtesy and care demonstration of the duty of care to us. So we are most grateful to you. Now back to Executive Director of IOCO. The truth is that she spoke the mind of the Attorney General and the government.
She spoke the mind of the Attorney General and the government.
That is it.
How can you tell?
So I'll come to. So what the government should quickly do is call the customers, find money and pay us, because you have destroyed the lives of 183 people and they are in the grave for nothing for the past 3 years. 2 weeks ago, a team from our midst went to IOCO and Attorney General Department, and we were giving the same information. So what she said, it is not something new. We have followed the public comments and the uproar and the rest of them. Yes, it's justified, but that is the reality. Because we are interested in our money, we do not want to be dabbling in whether there is a legal basis, there is a law or whatever. We may come to that later on. But what is at stake now is that 183 people have died without any basis, all because of the steps. I have with me here the statement the Minister of Information gave on 10th January 2019 as to what they wanted to do. And the route they took is where we are now. Fast forward in 2019, August, the customers presented a petition to the Attorney General. And we sat down and we said, look, the path you are taking, it's a criminal prosecution, and counsel is here. I know counsel. it's not going to result in the payment of our money, because we are very much interested in how we can retrieve our money. So in that petition, we suggested, let's just set up a committee. Now, one is here, and I'm not sure he would say that the properties or the asset that you are frozen, they were all procured with the company's money. And these are, I'm sure, the proceeds or the monies by the customers. Let's have that committee with Parliament involved, the executive, a rep from our end, and the Menzgold company. Then we sit down and resolve this issue. Because Ben, I know you read wide. Show me one country in the world with such a magnitude, such a case. They will just ignore the welfare of the people involved and they rush to court for criminal prosecution. There is none. In 2019, the Security and Exchange Commission in Nigeria, they had a similar problem. What they did was to set up a committee and they were able to retrieve the money for the customers. Then you can go ahead with your prosecution. So even we said, suspend the criminal prosecution. We didn't say stop. We said just suspend it. Then let's look at this one. Get the customers paid. Then after that, if you believe there is a cause to go ahead with the criminal prosecution, you will do it. They did not listen to us. This same house, when you go online, you check, even this year, we wrote an open letter to the Attorney General Department. And we cataloged that as at that time, about 4 months ago, there had been more than 20 adjournments on this case.
Right.
And so there was no end in sight. But where we are now, to cut matters short, where we are now, what the government should do is that currently, the honorable member for South-Dye has filed a motion, a private member's motion on behalf of the victims. Government should quickly go to Parliament, rush this motion through under a certificate of urgency, pass it, because Parliament will guide you as to how to proceed to pay the customers. As for the argument about whether there is evidence or not, I do not want us to double in that one.
So all you're interested in is that
our money.
You get your money.
Yes, because this is a public confession. Okay? That we cannot go ahead. And the question is, so what happens to the 183 people in the grave? Are we going to raise them back and apologize to them? And mind you, the President of the Republic in 2020 said, we cannot bring back life, but we can bring back the economy. So those people cannot be brought back again. So bury your arrogance. Pay the customers.
Bury your arrogance, pay the customers. In some 30 seconds, the PRO of Menzgold is defunct, yes, but he's online with us. But just in some 30 seconds, what has it meant to you, even up to now, those of you whose funds are locked up?
Yes.
What is the reality today?
The reality is that...
Make it very brief.
Like I said, 183 are dead. There are people... I have 2 people on my DM who are contemplating committing suicide. There's a gentleman, they gave him money, he invested in Menzgold, contemplating suicide. So what we are saying is that...
2 people you know?
Yes, 2 people I know.
Richmond. Are contemplating suicide?
Richmond.
Now?
Every time he calls me. Maybe after that, I will give you his number. Or if you open the phone line, we
shouldn't mention names, but I think the point is well made. Let me bring in Niama Amatefiu, PRO of Menzgold. Ni, I'm sure you've...
And please...
a very good morning to you. Is that an interjection?
We are not by any way defending Nam1.
Right.
That point must be made clear. We are not by any way defending Nam1. But what is happening now, let's sit around the table. The gentleman is here. We can sit around the table. They have even sold the asset, the cars. Our journey to Yoko and AG, it came out that they have sold the cars. They confirmed. I mean, when you go my journal, you get a plethora of statements you have made. They have sold the cars. They have also confirmed that they have in their custody some quantity of gold with them. And all these things sitting there for 3 years and people dying. I mean, we can't do that to ourselves.
All right.
This democracy, it must deliver. And it must deliver positive outcomes. And it's like we are not part of it. It's bad. It's very terrible.
Hold for me, Mr. Forson. Let me bring in Niyama Amatefu. Good morning, Ni.
Benjamin, good morning. How are you?
I'm well. It's been a while.
Yes, it's been a while.
All right.
It's been difficult, but we're still managing out there.
It's been difficult. When you hear what Mr. Forson has to say about two people who deposited with Menzgold, who currently are contemplating suicide, 183 people dead. Let me start off from there. How does that make you feel? How does that make Nam1 feel?
Okay. First of all, let me say good morning to Fred Forson. And then good morning to all your cherished viewers. Benjamin, you know very well that this case started 4 years ago. On the 11th of September, I think will be the 4th year that this whole Menzgold saga started. And you know, as a company, we've come out to make a lot of promise on how to solve this very sensitive issue. But as much as we try and make promises in terms of payments, we've not been able to fulfill the promises that we've made. And we've resolved to stop communicating on this Menzgold issue because we know very well that this is a very sensitive issue. And no matter how you speak, people might misconstrue it to be you being insensitive. You've been trying to lie to them and all that. So based on that, we thought that we should allow the court processes to go on. And also as a management, although as you said, the company is defunct, we'll also try as much as possible to, in our own way, solve this very problem. So we haven't given up. We have not given up at all. We are still working hard to make sure that this whole Menzgold issue is solved. So that is where we are. But I agree to speak to you this morning because of few things that have happened in the media based on the pronouncement emanating from the Yuko boss. I'd like to put on record that the court process is still going on.
Yes, the Deputy Finance Minister has confirmed that.
Yes, it's still going on. The initial charges that were preferred against our boss and the company was 14 charges. And he pleaded not guilty to all the charges that was preferred against him. Later, the state came back to amend the charge sheet. They added almost 52 or 54 charges to the 14, making it 61. And when those new charges were read, the prosecutor says that they are now waiting for the AG advice on how to now put those charges before him for us to now open our case. So we've been going to court since then, and every time we go, the prosecutor keeps telling the judge that we're still waiting for the AG to advise on the way forward.
The prosecutor tells the judge that they're still waiting for the AG to advise on the way forward.
On the way forward, because the docket has been sent to the AG's office. So nobody should think that the prosecution or the matter has halted, not at all.
Okay, Niyama, for the sake of time, we don't have too much of time on our hands. In some 30 seconds, just walk us through. Are there any plans to pay off Menzgold customers on the back of the sales that have been made and all of that? Yes, government has its role to play, but are there any plans, any latest plans to pay off Menzgold customers? And can you give us any timelines?
Definitely, there are plans, and that's the reason why I told you that we're still following the court process. That's the criminal aspect of it. I know most of our customers have said that the government should suspend the criminal prosecution so that we'll sit down. We welcome that if the customers want to come or with other people want to come and to sit down to solve this problem, we are ready to do that. And we ourselves are resolved in solving this problem. That's why I'm saying that we are committed to it. So I cannot give you timelines as we speak now, because I've come out to give other timelines which we've not been able to fulfill, and then they will come out to say that we've been insensitive to the plight of the customers.
Right.
We are not.
Okay.
So I beg of them that let's all put our shoulders behind the wheel and let's make sure that we bring this issue to an amicable conclusion.
All right. So that point is clear. Niama, right before you go, I just, very briefly, I just want to know, how does Nana Mensah feel about what is happening? When he hears things like this, people want to commit suicide, 183 people are dead. How does that make him feel?
Well, as I said, it's a very sensitive issue. And anytime, we hear Fred Forson speak, it's sad to hear this thing. And then he rightly says something that I clearly agree with him, that when the president says that we can revive the economy, but we cannot revive the dead, and which is true.
Right.
Those who've lost their life in this hard time, we sympathize with the family. It's quite unfortunate that all this thing has happened, but we pray and hope that we resolve this issue so that we lay to bear all the issues and pay every Menzgold customer that we genuinely owe.
All right. Nee, just hold for me. We're wrapping the conversation, but just hold for me in case anything is said that you have to react to. So I'm giving the final bite to you, Fred Forson, and to Lawyer Paintsel as well. You have some 40 seconds.
Yeah.
Final thoughts.
Benjamin, I think even the law is clear. Do you know that before the collapse of Menzgold, this document, today I came with a lot of documents. You see, the following are summary provided by the Bank of Ghana before the collapse of Menzgold, which talks about we want them. But look at the conclusion. Read the conclusion to the public.
You can go ahead.
It said that there is a need to conduct further investigation and for the relevant institutions to coordinate action to close the operations of the two companies down, i.e. Menzgold and Brew Marketing, and prosecute its directors and relevant officers for the breaches of the law. There is also the need to consider how to protect the monies paid to the companies by customers, even though the customers themselves might have done something illegal. If it's, this part, it means that this part, it doesn't have any effect. But the most important word here is that there was the need for the state to have protected the monies we paid into Menzgold. And this tied into Act 929, Section 123, subsection A, B, C, E.
Right.
Okay? And government ignored all this. Security and Exchange Commission ignored all this and brought us into this quagmire.
We'll see the way forward. Thank you, Fred Forson, for joining the conversation. Mr. Paintsel, if you're still with us, some 30 seconds. Final thoughts. All right, I believe Mr. Paintsel is no longer with us. I'd like to say a big thank you, Niama Amatefio, PRO of Menzgold. Yeah. We also have Fred Forson. Mr. Paintsel, did I hear you? All right, so Niama Amatefio is PRO of Menzgold, and Fred Forson is PRO of Menzgold customers. Thank you so much, and what can I say? Take heart. These are difficult times, but we'll see what the matter will yield in court. These have been the big stories that we've shared with you, but there's a lot more to look forward to on the AM show. Do stay. We'll be right back. It is Drive Safe once more with me, Benjamin Akakpo. Thank you for joining me. The last time we were talking about car tires in terms of the markings on the tires and the purpose of car tires. We all know that, but didn't we learn quite a lot? Today we're going to learn even more as we take a look at the right type of car tire. And we'll also start with the thread markings on car tires, which will indicate to you when your tire is due to be changed. Sometimes you look at the tire and feel, oh, I can still go on with it, but no, you must change it. So we'll find out about all of that on today's segment of Drive Safe. So you think you know? Check out today's road sign and whether you can guess what it means. All right, so at the tail end of today's segment, we'll find out what that road sign means. But let me come to Cecil Gabra, CEO of Top Tech Transport and Logistics. Always good to join you.
Thank you, Ben.
Right. So let's talk about, we're going back to car tires, and we're focusing on them for quite a while. So before we get into the other bit about car tires, I want us to start with the thread markings. Walk us through that.
Okay, right. If you look at the LI 2180, to be specific, Regulation 62 talks about the tread limit of the tires, and a lot of people are having it wrong. Again, I'll go back to my half tie, which is just here. There are a lot of markings on the tie, but I'm talking about the tread. If you look at this tie, for instance, and then you get to the spare parts dealers, or you get to Ofusu-Amma, obviously, you tell the guy that, oh, if you have 3 more ties, please let me have it. But this tie that I'm holding is about 20-something years. But you see it's so fresh. How would you know, right? There is this indication where everybody must know, okay? If you look at this tie, it has this information, FGA 069. Forget about the FGA, but pick the last 3 or 4 digits at the end of the tie, and that gives you the manufacturer's date. For instance, this is 069. This tie was manufactured on the 6th week of the year 1999. I'll take that again. This tie was manufactured on the 6th week 1999. This is 3 digits. Remember the millennium issue, we had 3 digits and we went to 4.
Right.
So 4 digits will tell you that the tie was manufactured in 2000 and above. But if you look at this tie, it says 069, and I take that again. 6th week, that's the first 2 gives you the week, and then the last 2 is supposed to give you the year
so this
of
would
manufacture.
Be the 2nd week in February 1999.
And remember that you have to use a tie for a maximum period of 6 years, right, whether it is new or old. I quite remember those days when I was a little boy, my dad would go and buy the Firestone tie. I mean, ties were being manufactured in Ghana.
You've done that one before.
Yes.
Put it under the bed.
Under the bed.
To cook well.
Yes, to cook well. Also tie in the bin, and then that's what the whole issue is about. But it is so wrong. You buy the tie, you must use it. Now let's go to recent times, right? If you look on my laptop, it says 5105. It means this tie was manufactured on the 51st week of the year 2005. Right. Now, next slide is even much more easier, okay? Last 4 digits, 4515. Remember, the first 2 talks about the week, right, and then the last 2 talks about the year. So 4515 means this tie was manufactured on the 45th week of the year 2015. You have 6 years to use this tie.
Which means that for a tie like this in 2021,
yes, I don't want to use the word it's expired.
It's span.
It is, yes, it has got to its time. It is not expired. But this is what will happen. You start having cracks on the tie, okay, on the side walls of the tie. And that should tell you that any moment you are going to meet death.
Does this apply whether or not the tire has been used?
Yes.
So let's say it's still, you know how sometimes the tire may be that old, but you still have it in its packaging and everything. It's not even been used. Does it still apply?
Yes, it applies. 6 years. So you go to a shop, let's say in the UK, £100, £200, £300 for the same Michelin tie. Obviously, you go for the £100, but the wholesale or the seller will tell you that, look, this tie is getting to 1 year to 6 year period, which means that if you buy that tie, then you are going to be in trouble. So you go to the MOT test in UK, and then to be indicated that, gentlemen, your tie has got 1 year period for you to use it, and then you need to fix new ties for road safety purposes. Right. Mind you, I didn't mention that the tie has expired, but the tie manufacturer is saying use it within a period of 6 years. Right. And that is the issues that we have in our country. Now, the next thing that I'm going to talk about is the tread limit. And if you look at the LI 2180, To be precise, Regulation 62 tells you that your tread limit on the tie must not be lower, I'm talking about lower so everybody will understand, than 1.6 millimeters. How would you know? Right. We have a lot of information on the ties. First of all, there is this notch in between the ties, yeah, okay? If you can see it, right, this is the notch.
Right.
This notch is a 1.6 millimeter notch.
Okay.
So you buy a new tie, you will realize that the notch is buried in there. You ask the taxi or trotro driver, he'll tell you that, oh, this one, we see it, we need to remove it. When you go on your brakes, it will disturb, but it is there for a purpose. Now, how would you know? What I'm holding is the tread limit, the tread gauge.
Okay.
Okay, so if you go for a DVLA test, what happens is that you first of all calibrate it to 0 and put it in the tread. Now, this is measuring 1.9, which means it is good to go. Right. Now, you come to the side and then you measure it. It is 1.0. Which means that this tie has failed the test and you must not use it. So this is very important. If you don't have the gauge, you can use a coin and then put it in the tread, put a coin on a ruler, and then you get the information that you want. So never use ties that have the minimum tread of 1.6 millimeters. Remember, I said car ties are killers. So kill them before they kill you. How will you kill them? Just get 4 sets of brand new ties. Okay, and that is not expensive at all. If you buy the used tie, you keep on changing and you spend money on it. But if you buy the fresh ties, it will take you for a period of about 5 years, 6 years, depending on the usage of the tie.
When you go to these car tire sales people, they will tell you, oh, home use there, no one a bosu and no one a bechama. It's not true.
That is not true, and that is why we spoke about the manufacturer stage. Use the ties within a period of 6 years, that is one. Check the treads and find out whether the tread limit have not been exceeded. It should be more than 1.6 millimeters. If it is lower than that, don't buy that tie. And I'm not saying home second-hand ties are not good. We can pick up some good ones from it. Okay, by getting the manufacturer stage right, and then also getting the tread limits right. Now check for cracks. If you see any crack on the side walls, please don't buy the tie.
It's a no-no.
It's a no-no because the treads, what I'm holding is called a tubeless tie, okay, and then the tubeless tie must have the side walls intact. When you have any cut, then it means that you'll be in trouble. So car ties are killers, buy new ties, and then you'll be free.
So when he says car tires are killers, it's not that they will kill you, but if you don't follow the specifications and do the right thing, you just might end up killing yourself and maybe other people. But who wants that? Nobody. Thank you, Cecil, for joining us once more on Drive Safe. This is part 2 of car tires, and what we said we would focus on, the types and what to go for, will come your way in part 3. And the information just keeps coming and coming and coming. But before we wrap for today, how about we find out? So you think you know. Check out whether you got the road sign correct. And it's a wrap for another segment of Drive Safe with me, Benjamin Akakpo. Stay with us, and next time we'll be talking further into car tires.
Hello there. Thank you so much for staying on the AM show. I'm Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah, and it's now time to have a conversation about a distinguished man, Emeritus Professor Samuel Ofusu-Amma. He's a pediatrician, public health expert, and he worked at the School of Public Health, University of Ghana, a fellow and a former vice president of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. Emeritus Professor Ofusu-Amma is well recognized for his contribution to developing several primary healthcare initiatives in Ghana and beyond. I want you to know more about this man, and there's something very interesting the College of Physicians and Surgeons is doing for this professor, and I've been joined by Dr. Eugene Nyako. He's training coordinator at the Faculty of Public Health at the College of Physicians and Surgeons. Thank you, Doc, for joining me this morning. It's a pleasure to have you. Right, so let's talk about, Prof, Emeritus Ofusu-Amma. Who is he, and why does he deserve this honor that your college is hoping to bestow on him?
Thank you for the opportunity to share a few thoughts about Prof. He is a pediatrician. He had his training in Scotland, and when he came back home, he worked in Kolebu for some time, but then he became the head of the community health department at Kolebu, the University of Ghana Medical School. And that is where I first made contact with him, because I was a medical student then. And I had that opportunity of being taught by him for a short period. And then subsequently, he had opportunities to work with the United Nations for some time. Prof, as a pediatrician, was quite well known, and he distinguished himself in that career. But where we got to feel more of his impact was him as a public health specialist. As a public health specialist, his role has been felt most in developing the human resource capacity in the country, in academia, particularly in training doctors and other health professionals in public health. Another opportunity I had to meet him after many years being away after medical school was when he approached me in 1994, late 1994, to join a team of lecturers he was trying to put together. That was when he was establishing the School of Public Health at the University of Ghana, Legon. So even after this period he spent with UNICEF, working at the international level, and he came back home in the early 1990s, he still had passion to train doctors. And the School of Public Health was one of his initiatives. He was the founding director. The School of Public Health has been in existence since 1995. And you can imagine the number of public health specialists that have been trained from there. Following that, his passion for training moved him further on to the College of Physicians and Surgeons when it was being established. He was very instrumental in getting the college up and running, and he became the founding president for the college. So you can see that throughout his career, he has been working in the path of getting the human resource capacity in the health sector developed. And this has made a significant contribution to the health sector development in the country. But apart from that, he has also been influential in linking family health services, family planning services, with the Ghana Health Service at the time when it was Ministry of Health, because he made quite a lot of contribution at the time the 1969 Constitution was being drawn up. He represented the medical fraternity at the time on the committees that were working
1992 Constitution?
1969.
69?
Yeah.
Okay, I had 1999.
No, 1969. So even at that level of helping to put together national instruments for development, he was there. And he made a lot of contribution in the health sector to get that going. And then at Kolebu, he also became the chairman for the management board at one stage. Still at Kolebu, when it was in University of Ghana Medical School, he became the vice dean at some stage. And then Noguchi, when Noguchi started initially, he also became the acting director for Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research at some stage. So you can see that he has played roles in different areas, different sectors within the bigger health sector. And his impact has been felt by many of us, both as students and also working with him. And I think he deserves our honor.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly he does. And let me just mention that this man we are talking about is 93, okay? So he was born in 1931. So you can imagine the number of doctors and the number of lives that have been affected by his contributions, as Dr. Nyako has been saying. So tell us how, as a college, you say he's the founding president of the College of Physicians and Surgeons, how you hope to keep his legacy alive and even translated or transferred to the generations who may not have felt the impact as you have.
Right. The College of Physicians, to begin with, in 2019, we started this health leadership legacy celebration, let me put it that way, for one of the luminaries in health leadership in the country, Dr. Dagbon. We started that as a leadership event. But then looking at the way forward, we decided that this should be institutionalized and made an annual event such that such luminaries will be picked up from time to time every year and honored. And so, unfortunately, between 2020 and 2021, COVID didn't allow us to continue. So this year, we decided, given that the COVID restrictions, a lot of them have been lifted and we are now able to move on, we decided to honor him as the second honoree. But for this year, he is the key person we are honoring. And as I said, because this is going to be an annual event, we are hoping that the legacies that they leave will live on in how we use the lessons we have picked up in the training of physicians. At the Faculty of Public Health, right now, for instance, as part of their training process, the cohort 15 residents, the residents, actually it's called assisting residents, they are the ones who are organizing this event
to honor him.
And it is one of the ways of helping them to learn from a living person how leadership in health is done. And then they are also going to pull together all the lessons they will learn, both by analyzing his own contributions, his roles and the rest, and then also in learning about the work he has done to become a basis for them to develop their own leadership capacities. And so it's more or less incorporated into our training program, and it's an integral part, and therefore we hope that these legacies from the different luminaries that will be coming, but particularly in this year, Prof. Ofusu-Amma's contribution is going to live on.
Right. Doc, so he's a pediatrician, and I know from experience that a lot of children, especially children who had life-saving interventions by pediatricians, they are told the names of their pediatrician. Oh, Dr. So-and-so saved you, or Dr. So-and-so gave me this advice that helped me nurture you. And I'm sure there's somebody watching us who says, this name rings a bell, and they may want to be part of this celebration. How do they participate? What can they do to join this event to honor Prof?
Right. The event is taking place on Wednesday, this Wednesday, 24th of August, 2022. It will be taking place at the auditorium of the College of Physicians. If you are able to come, you will be most welcome. But we've also established a link for people to join virtually. Unfortunately, I don't have the link here, but...
Do you have a Facebook page? Would it be posted there?
It's on the college Facebook page.
Okay.
And then on the college website as well. And there are posters of him and the event which have been scattered around the city. So, and the link is there, so people can approach that. And then we would want as many people as possible who have known him, who have experienced his impact, to come over and then share the occasion with us.
It's always a happy moment when you have to celebrate somebody who's distinguished himself so well. And this time round is the turn of Professor Emeritus Samuel Ofusu-Amma. And as you've heard Dr. Nyako speak highly of him and his contributions, not only to health in Ghana, but even across the world when he worked with the UNICEF, it shows you that this is a man worthy of honor. So don't forget, it's happening this Wednesday, the 24th of August, at the auditorium of the College of Physicians and Surgeons right here in Accra, around Ridge, right? Okay, and so you can make your way there if you want to join in celebrating and honoring Prof. Once again, thank you, Doc. Any final words?
The only word is, here is a luminary who needs to be celebrated, and therefore we are opening it up to the public. Whoever will be willing to join us will be welcome.
Thank you once again. Dr. Eugene Nyako is training coordinator of the public health at the College of Physicians and Surgeons, and we've been talking about their intention or plans to honor Professor Emeritus Samuel Ofusu-Amma this Wednesday. You're still watching the AM show. Emmy Africa Awards, in partnership with Joy Entertainment, present the Inspiring Greatness Forum. It's a youth mentoring forum designed for young men between the ages of 16 and 21. It will gather shortlisted applicants as well as mentors and speakers to explore topics and concepts surrounding personal growth and development. The young men will have the opportunity to meet and interact with some of the country's top entrepreneurs, mentors, and business professionals. To register, visit www.emmyafrica.com and fill the forms to stand a chance of being part of this great opportunity. The registration deadline is on the 24th of August 2022. Call Emmy Africa on 020-18870 or 0302-738-727 or follow at Emmy Africa for more information. The 7th Emmy Africa Awards, Inspiring Greatness. Well, we will be back with more interviews even as we look forward to our EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair. You're still talking about the EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair, and I've got the beautiful Dorothy Fuakwashi here with me, Executive Director, Elegant Homes and Construction Limited. If you look how elegant, if you see rather how elegant she's looking today, you understand why her homes are called Elegant Homes and Constructions Limited. Good to have you here once again. Finally, we're getting to the climax. It's been a good build up. We did the first clinic at Achimota, then we went to West Hills. Now we're going to the Accra International Conference Center. As I always say, there are always people watching us for the first time, and they want to know what Elegant Homes has to offer.
Exactly. Thank you. Elegant Homes is a real estate development company. We are also into general construction in that we take up construction projects on contract. We're currently selling 3 and 4 bedroom detached houses within our gated estate, Elegant Court, Katamanso, which is off the Adenta Dodowa Road. And then we've been partnering Habitat Fair for some time now, and it's been very good.
Great. And when I was at the fair, the clinic rather, at the West Hills Mall, I saw that you have some additions, you do some balustrades, is it, or burglar proofs? Exactly what products is that?
Those are UPVC windows.
Great.
We are also into the sale and fabrication of high quality UPVC windows. We sell UPVC profiles, we sell cornices, plaster boards, and then gypsum adhesive. So that is additional products that we do.
So someone can come to you, maybe you have a home already and you want to use a plaster board for some partitioning or something, you can reach out to Elegant Homes and Construction Limited. So to the big day, big event, which starts on Wednesday through to Sunday, what should we expect from Elegant Homes this time around?
As usual, you should expect our beautiful homes. You should expect my team on board. We are open. Come in, come and inquire. Let us advise you. Come and prospect. You see, sometimes people feel that once I come, it's because I want to buy a house this year. No, we've had instances where people have planned. They want to own a property in the next 2 years. But then it starts from now because there will be others available. Come, talk to us, let know what we offer, visit the site, so that when you are ready to purchase a home, you know where exactly to send your monies to.
Wonderful. I like the sound of that. So these homes that we are seeing, these are fully constructed homes ready for purchase.
Exactly.
So you pay today, you move in today.
You pay today, you can own the property today. These are all, you can see the floor, they are not 3Ds. They are houses that have been built, they are readily available, construction is ongoing. This design is Almond House. And it's a 3-bedroom detached house with 1 car garage, as you can see, and 1-bedroom boys' quarters attached. These are the types of houses that we do. Very, very unique, beautiful, and quality.
There's something interesting coming with your packages this year, some free internet connectivity. Just tell us more about that.
This year, as usual, we are giving 10% discount to all patrons who buy from us within the fair. The promo ends as soon as the fair ends, so you hurry. You get a free video doorbell, you get a remote control gate and garage, you get central ceiling speakers, and then the icing on the cake is that we now have high-speed fiber optic internet within the estate, and so we will connect you for free. We'll pay the connection fee for you, so you can also have access to internet.
Sorry about that, but that's Dorothy Kwashi there telling you why you need to come to the fair and why you need to visit Elegant Homes. Don't forget, we'll bring you more even as we look forward to the main event on Wednesday. And I know you have a lot of questions. The good thing about our fair is that we have vendors who are very interactive. They are always welcome to hear you, to take you through a plan, to answer your questions. Like she said, you don't necessarily need to want to buy a home today, but once you come, she's ready to guide you through the process. You won't get this anywhere else. Thank you once again for being part of this. But your final words?
Well, my final words is that we'll be expecting you from Wednesday to Sunday. We'll be at the Accra International Conference Center. We are open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Come and have all your questions answered. Before the fair, if you also want to reach us for enquiries, you can call 0244 699 053 or 057 659 7419 or 024 897 4428. You can also send us an email at sales@eleganthomesgh.com or visit our website www.eleganthomesgh.com.
Thank you so much for having us. The elegant Dorothy Kwashi, giving you elegant and beautiful homes. That'll be it for this edition of the AM show with me, Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah, and Benjamin Akakpo. He's not here, and sorry we couldn't be interactive with you today. We definitely will be interactive with you in the subsequent days. But coming up next is News Desk here on the JoyNews channel. Do stay.